Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me say welcome again to another edition of the program, The Bottom Line. And this is the Saturday's edition where we do discuss mainly about the ANC, but as well, we also start with other topics. And so let us say welcome. With me today, we have Paul Chilople, the Lord Paul Chilople from the UK, and Mr. Judah Farr. He's there from the Kingdom of Sweden, and I'm here from the Kingdom of Norway. So it's all controlled by the Kingdom of the Paul. You guys are kingdom, right?
We are United Kingdom.
Kingdom.
Yes,
United
please.
Kingdom, and then I think we need to unite our kingdoms too. So we can have United Scandinavian Kingdom.
We get your freedom, so lead us to it, Limbo. Already we'll claim your back.
I know, right? We're in your hand long time, we know.
But let me tell you a funny story. And when Norway discovered the oil, so she offered Sweden 50%. She wanted to have share in the Volvo technology. And Sweden turned that down. You understand? So I think a decade ago, then Sweden started to regret. If we knew, we should have taken the offer from Norway to get 50% of the oil.
and you know where I used to live, just 3 hours away from here, it's called Kungsberg, meaning the King's Mountain. Yeah. And the king of Denmark was ruling Norway at the time. He used to come and he may get flag, go way to the top of that mountain, and then he say, yeah, the whole land here for me. But then they didn't know that we had oil. Then the men they left us. So when we discovered the oil and they want to come back, we say, no, you're break.
No, you say that.
Well, let's say welcome to our viewers. This is the program, The Bottom Line, and what a way to welcome you. Paul, do you have a music for us to start?
Yes. I have. Well, before we do that, I'll just ask, we can play the music while our viewer and the guests due to come on, and while we can share the show. But before I play the music, I know you guys, you're in a football world. You as a football nation, and some revelation just happening here. You see, my team, the great Arsenal, for some reason they just on fire. We dismantled Liverpool the other day. Now we're just waiting to destroy City to just get it over with. So we're just on a roller coaster at the moment.
Yeah, but you see, as not fair, the Gunners, you see, people always say we can't win. What we do is, in fact, we raise players. Most of the good players.
Limbo, you too? You too, Limbo.
This is it. You see?
I see why you pay that visit to America, Gami. Because you got sharing Arsenal.
Yeah, but Paul is going to play this music by D12. If nobody knows your name, then you are nobody, and we do not have any copyrights to that music. Facebook, so we make this disclaimer before we play the music. We play it because it suits the purpose of our program, and also because that music is by a citizen of our country. So we have to promote a person in Facebook. This is a disclaimer. Paul, roll on.
Yes, so thank you for that. And this is the beauty. If somebody said nothing about you, you nobody. Here we go.
TunesLiberia.com. Exclusively at TunesLiberia.com.
D12 on the beat. If nobody talks about you, you are nobody. If nobody chewing your bone, you are nobody. They will know everything about you more than you know yourself. Yeah. They will talk just to bring you down.
Anything they talk about you, please believe it. So Linford, as they talk about me, the most famous Arsenal fan, believe it. And we're going to win the Premiership this year.
The people say we get hanging up there, they will bring us down. But I don't know how they will do it.
Yeah. So while we wait for our guests to come in, we'll be having former Senator John Balu here, and our own brother, Mr. Durake, will be with us shortly to discuss the bread and butter issue of our mama in Liberia. And while people sharing the show, I just want to play something, and I want you guys view. It's like you caught in two places. You, your mother, and your wife, and the fighting over a situation. How do you handle it? I just want to play that while waiting for our guests and let our viewers have a say on this. Something is very fascinating here. So bear with me play the wonderful story.
Please watch till the end and guide you people should judge this issue with good orientation. Who do you think will sit at the front seat?
Wait. I just want to enter the front. As my husband again.
Mama, wait. It's okay now. There's nobody at the back of this car now. Mama, wait. What is the problem?
As your wife, I need to enter the front of this car. We've been waiting for you since all this while.
I don't even understand. Mama, front seat and back seat, is it not the same thing? Honey, wait.
Don't honey me. It's my right. It is my right to enter my husband's
Can somebody come at the back seat and sit?
I cannot. Let her go back to back seat.
Let me talk to you first.
No. Let her go back.
Wait, back seat and front seat, is it not the same thing?
Let her go back and sit. Please.
Mama, do you want to stay in front seat?
Yes, that is where I want to stay. Since jelly, I've been here waiting for you. Because it's my right, it's my husband. Go back to the village.
What kind of life is this? Mama, okay, can one person, Mama, go at the back seat, okay, let my wife stay in front seat.
Exactly! That's my husband talking. Nonsense.
I will leave you people to enter. Okay, if you send a taxi on this thing, will you people do the same thing? There are no taxi right here now. Will you people do the same thing?
Ask her.
Baby.
I will forget my fingers
baby,
on your face.
You know what?
I am going to forget my fingers on your face.
For the sake of my mother. For the sake of my mother.
No.
For the sake of my mother.
No.
Go at the back. My mother should stay in front.
It is too much.
It's too much.
Really are too much. I have to stay in front seat. I cannot allow her to be here. Now. Let them watch us. Let them come and judge this man. Nonsense.
You see, if you people continue like this, I will drive this car and go. What is the problem now?
And leave me here.
Yes.
Each and all in make each about as you they see me so I will remember about Maraquin Keta. I know me. It can't happen. It can't happen.
Who send me go marry?
It can't happen.
Now my mother and my wife, they cannot allow me to live in peace. Front seat and back seat? Is it not the same thing? My wife will sit in front seat, my mother will sit in front seat. Is it not the same car? The same AC in front is the same AC at the back. Mama, one of you should enter the front seat and then somebody should enter the back seat so that we leave now. I need to buy food. There's no light in the house.
Enter this front seat. That is what I said. Mama, and if you should allow your mom to enter in this front seat, I will never open leg for you again.
Believe
me. This is the only weapon. I will never open this leg. This honey pot, sweet in the middle. Let your mom.
Right. This is a situation here, and this guy got caught up in a situation between his wife and his mom. While we wait for our guests to just have a little, if you were caught in a situation like that, what will you do?
For me, I just jumped to the conclusion that the lady should have known better that it's a mother-in-law, and that Oma maybe she's visiting. What would a day ride do to you and your husband's car? You people own a car, so give the mother-in-law. Let her have a day, enjoy herself, and go home. But I think those things have something to do. Even though it's comedy, but it's an example of bad upbringing.
Right. Linford, what your take on this?
Well, before I give my take, I just like also to make a disclaimer for that, because that film was produced by people, and we must give them the credit. We only use it, like Mark said, to set some moral records straight. Well, my take is, as for me, I would have taken a definite stance. My mother cannot be compared to no other person. My mother is my mother, right?
Yeah.
And I'll also give you a story. There is you can have a mother. If your mother die, she's your mother. If your mother is ugly, she's your mother. Your mother is old, young, beautiful, she's your mother. But your wife, if your wife is beautiful, my friend, she's staying with you in the house. Your wife can leave you anytime go. Your mother will never leave you.
That's it. Yeah.
No matter what, your mother can fall or you can do anything, but she will always call you. I have experienced mother's love to the point where, I'm ahead of 11 children, right? I'm the first of 11 children. Okay. And then that my aging mother can see me, that she wants me to even sit in her lap. Then I get to know the kind of love that mothers have for their children. So I will not trade my mother for anything else. I will make a woman to understand this is my mother. If this woman, I remember when I was a young boy, we used to live in one house on the bypass, and our landlord had his father living there. So we used to call him Ome Pa. The Ome, he was in the room, confined to the room, he can't come outside. And our landlord wife used to treat this old man. And the old man used to say one thing, Paul. This thing, I will not forget that. The old man used to say, Mary, the way you're treating me, you think if it was not me, you think you would be here? That was a deep saying to that woman. That if it was not me who born a man that he married today and suffer under him, you think you would be here? So I will not trade my mother for anything. I will make a woman to understand this is my mother, and because of her, I'm here. And you gotta respect her, because you expect your children to respect you tomorrow. So in nutshell, that's it.
Right. So that's a good one. You guys have, but if you have different view on this, so
somebody disagree with me. All right.
Let's welcome our viewers too onto the program, and then you can talk with them. Welcome, the clergyman Dada, Shadida, welcome. Joseph Cotto, welcome. On Bottoline, welcome. Alice Clarkoli, Sotomo Nelson, all of you welcome on this. And you guys, Mark and Jim, for somebody disagree with you, so I want you guys to look at the disagreement. What your thought on it?
Yeah, but Clark Collins will have to tell me why he disagree with me on, because I am saying that I cannot. The bottom line, Clark, is that I would never trade my mother for anything else. Okay, so I will make my wife to understand in the first place. Before I even marry my wife, I'll tell her that I love my mother much. Okay, and she got to understand. The same way that my wife got mother too, and she know that our mother love her too. So we balance it.
That's right.
So there's a group in the Ivory Coast, Ivorian Crown group. They made a music, but the group is called Wasato. So, and this music here is about the children father crossing the bridge with his wife and his mother, and the bridge got broken in the middle of the river.
Who to save first?
Who does he save first? If he save his children's mother and go home, his siblings will blame him for the death of their mother. If he see his mother, he go home, his children will blame him for the death of them. So who does he say first?
Oh, just stay there. I say nobody will all go.
So one papa said, if I were the guy, I would go home, let the 2 people drown, and the people in town let it be satisfied.
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, he tried to save the 2 people, but he couldn't make it, so they both drowned.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
Clark Conning is giving you a biblical reason here. He said the Holy Bible says a man shall leave his wife and father and join with leave his mother and father and shall join with his wife, and they both shall become one flesh. Yeah. So that's why my wife now supposed to understand that she's my flesh, I'm her flesh. So we're supposed to respect my mother. So like here, I lose still. Yeah, but the poster tonight we're going to be having interesting discussion. We just giving premise. We expect the former senator of Maryland County, Mr. Honorable John Balut Jr. to be with us in some minutes from now, and we also expect Mr. Jonathan Dulake to be with us, and so together we'll be discussing. And the 2 groups, the 2 gentlemen. They are from different political parties, and so it's going to be a good thing that we'll be talking the general bread and butter issues of Liberia, and these are topics these are things that affect everybody, no matter which party you're from. But then at the same time, I'm sure they will be weighing in on the activities of their party and what they think their party can do or has been doing. So we expect it to be a very interesting discussion tonight. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to join us.
Well, Dr. just spoke to me. He getting ready now to join.
Okay.
So in a few minutes from now, he'll be joining us.
Okay. And I got confirmation from the Honorable Balu that he will be joining. And so, like I said, we expect it to be entertaining, not only entertaining, but informative, educational, and of course politically charged tonight. And so Paul, I think they say all work with all play makes Jack dull, because Jack working when finish you go sleep. So yeah. I like the Eugene Fangon music, right? But you see, the one you like, I get into like the new one more than the old one, the Baboon. So I don't know which one you like.
I like the Eugene Fagon music in general.
So you see, so it's like my lost R2. I like R2. Let me be frank, but the thing is, I'm getting to like a new one. When he said, that means supposed to tell you, say you will get more your toy.
So what we'll ask our guests to kind of share the show to their various chat room. While we wait for our guests, and we just play the Eugene Fagon music. We got a view, we get a monkey one, and then we got the one with backup. So if our viewer want which one to play, we can play it. But I guess Linford like the one with backups, and I like the one with the bamboo. So shall we vote and say which one will go with? Both? Anything? I'm gonna roll this while we wait for our guests.
Yeah, just roll anyone. I will fall in love with anyone tonight.
Here we go.
Okay.
You are coming to the U.S. You suck the ambassador. I don't want to go and I don't want to give you the say. Now he will tell you. You who get muscle talk. Now he will tell you that you're coming to the U.S. You're not supposed to suck the ambassador and you go back. Now he will tell you. No, I will not tell you. No. Now he will tell you. Now he will tell you that you're not supposed to get a foreign minister girlfriend. And we must return the mission, knowing that you want to come as we today. No, he will tell you. I will not tell you. No, I will tell you. I will tell you that you can wait. There's no hand on nothing about your promise. No foreign policies. Because you're not a future. And he will tell you. No, I will not tell you. No, I will tell you. And he will tell you that your government is weakening day by day. You can't see it. And he will tell you. I will not tell you. No. Now me will tell you that your people are asked you to investigate president ever told you to fire the ambassador 2 days before you arrive, wanted to make you know of what? So, whoever you decide now, it's funny to the text. But you and I know that ambassador Pumpkin will not be alive. He will be over your own. And the people you coming with, most of them don't know the U.S. Now he will tell you, no, I will not tell you. No, now me will tell you. 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 You will be over your own. No, I will not tell you. No, now me will tell you.
Right. This is a hit. I love this music. I love the music so well. And every time
this song can stand the first one, my man. The first one got hit.
Yeah. So I think Eugene Fagon should be given the Liberia musical award because this is a beautiful song. And so therefore, I know you like the music, and as we wait for our guests, we want to share a flyer to tell everybody on Tuesday we'll be having somebody in the house, and this person is one of the firing power that had just come onto Mr. Cummins' team, and nobody else but the great man himself, the most talked about man recently, Mr. Louis Brown, will be in the house on Tuesday.
Yes.
So just to let you know that Bottom Line will be firing on Tuesday. We'll have Louis Brown in our midst, and we'll kind of ask all of you to tune in. We're going to have a very good discussion. They talk about the CPP list. Why is it that Louis Brown and other people making kind of tsunami in Liberia because their name came out? He's going to tell us. So Tuesday, the same time on Bottom Line. So, Lifa, what are your thoughts?
And guess what? You know, when I got in contact with Louis, bro, and he said, "Oh, well, yeah, what I've been waiting for ever since." So you see, I think he's really on fire. And you know, just before Louis would come, this is somebody that I knew from day one. You know, from across the line, as people used to say. And I think I know part of the story. I don't know 100%, but I think I know part of the story how he even became MPF of there. And Louis Brown is not somebody who was walking and then somebody said, "Oh, this is the called Louis Brown," and I got to know him. I knew Louis Brown. We sat together. We did almost everything together. I touched his story briefly last time, but I would love for him to be here and he would tell you some of the story about us. You know how we mingle. I remember when he was building that his new house. We used to go there to the business and sit down there and play card all night. And I was living here at David Junction. Then I get money to come out and eat all my money. Then I say, "How go home now?" They say, "My man, you will stay here tonight. Nobody driving you home." So you know, I mean, these are guys that we talk to. So we expect that Louis will be here on Monday, and he was Tuesday. Very excited. So it's on Tuesday, rather, and he was very excited, and so it's gonna be fiery. I know him to be a talker, best talker, and not only talking but very smart because I make friends, but my line of friends, there are very few. I got thousands of friends, but I got few friends who are real friends that I can talk with, I can talk to, because I need to get something from them to add to mine. So he will be here on Tuesday, like Paul said. He was very excited about that. And so we urge our audience to invite your friend, because we want you to hear some of what Louis will say concerning this list, why he came to Mr. Cummins, and a whole lot of things we'll be talking about.
So Linford, I mean,
yeah,
you guys in the journalism world, and with all of these allegations that have been coming out lately from Liberia regarding the corruption, the censor that been causing a lot of commotion, and why your understanding of all this? Before our guests come, we can briefly talk about it.
Yeah, if I take them one by one, if we look at the census, you know, this is a constitutional mandate, a constitutional mandate given to every government that once every 10 years we have to do a census. And the reason why the census is very important, there are many, but the most important one is that it will guide you to know how many people you have in your country, your population, because population can explode, population can also shrink depending on the situation. So let's say we had, since the last census, we have had two major calamities hitting Liberia. The Ebola, and then we also had the COVID. So these are factors that can reduce the population immensely. Okay, disasters and plagues, farming, war. These are things that can affect the population. So this is why it's very necessary to conduct the census as mandated by the law within a given time. That will help you to plan your demographic. For instance, we're going to have elections now. Do we know how many people live in Monrovia? Do we know how many people live in my village? Do we know how many children are being born since the last census? No. So we have to know it, and that can also lead to the creation of new voting precincts, creating new districts. Okay, so it's very important, and the delay or the blatant disregard for having a census by this government, I think is something that all Liberians should frown on, because this is a breach of the Constitution. That alone, because this is a mandate that is given. It was passed into law that it should be done. So why is the government not doing it? And so as we move towards election, it's very important, or else a very important component of the electoral process is missing. Then the next thing that you talk about is on the leges thing. Leges, they have been plagued with what? Corruption. And I think it's because of this corruption that is leading to the delay of all of the census process, because monies that were allocated for conducting census, money that were allocated for doing different, because you have to map up the entire country, and you're not sitting like in Monrovia and map up the country. You have to send people in the field, and so monies were donated or allocated for that. And if they misuse that money, what happens? They will have, like, what can I say? Shortfall, they will have a shortfall in their operational budget. So I think this is one of the reasons why the entire system has been brought down to its knees, that we are approaching elections. We got barely 11 months ago and no census, and census taking is tedious, especially given the kind of condition we have in Liberia, where the country is not connected by road network. Some people have to get there and walk days and days to reach to one village, and when they collect their data for them to come back. So I think it's just a total collapse.
Right. So Brother Mark, what your take on this before our guests come in?
Brother Paul is. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, it's like you're locked on 2 times.
It's kind of a frustrating that in Liberia and most third world countries, we still talking about doing census every 10 years. And in Sweden, I live, for example, they have institutions in places that give an update. Sweden, Norway, Denmark, you don't hear about census. No. If I have a system in place that is responsible for these things, every citizen living in the country or every resident in the country, be an immigrant or citizen, everybody has a social security ID A social security number is issued by an algorithm that determine how many people live in the country and what's the population rate and the immigrant that also reside in the country. So, I mean, these things are easy to accomplish, but the people that had these institutions we get back home, we got some of these institutions back home, right? But the people that had these institutions back home, so for example, if I was to nominate Paul Cholople or Lane Ford to head, for example, some institution, I ask you, Paul, what transformation you're going to bring to this institution? Looking at the history of XYZ for the past 50 years, and we're lacking some, and how they call this, upgrading, compared to some other countries, our neighbor or Western society. So it's so shameful sometimes that we have this discussion. For is the I think, I don't know, laziness or the willingness is not there. When the money is, you got the European Union that gave fund more, especially Sweden. Okay, you always get help from Sweden to do the census, or from America to do the census every 10 years. So what the problem is, and you got a lot of young people in the country, high school graduate, are out of job. Even what will it take Liberia to even create a social security number system? Okay, since 1847, almost country going to 200 years, we don't have a social security system in the country. Okay, even national ID card, I don't know how popular that is across the country. We don't have a national ID card to say it's a must that every citizen have a national ID card, and even people that are, reside in the country should have some other identification card with some number attached to it, so that when something happens tomorrow, we can know, and how to trace people and to know how many people live in the country. So sometimes I get forced. I don't listen to those stuff. I don't read about them because I feel that these are things that are supposed to be done. I saw the latest issue, but I got no time. I don't waste my time on it. Honestly speaking.
Yeah. So it does come to mind because you need to have a system like a database system, and also in Liberia we get problem with electricity. So those sort of system that you talk about, it have to do with the energies that we have. In Liberia, you get one day you get Christmas light, the next day you get how they call it, Easter light. So you get different. So if a system not in place, because you need a database system where you have for them to do a database that will be run on a server. So year in, year out, the national ID card you talk about is filing system. So you go get your ID card, somebody write your name, they take your picture, go. After 2 days, when it rains, everything disappear. So the whole system as a whole just collapsed. So it could be that from the energy sector, we need something, we need energy. And then we need the young people to be able to build databases where they can keep Liberia as a country, no postal system. You in Sweden, go to 7B, you can go post letter, the postman will take it to somebody else. We don't have that in Liberia. So there are a lot of things that is not in place.
Yeah, and this is where the function of entities like leeches comes in.
Exactly.
Because leeches is actually supposed to map up the country geographically.
Yeah.
Set up, if we call it a block system, where you got certain areas in one block, and then you number that. I have a friend here from Sierra Leone, and the guy tells me that he can sit here and get mail a letter, and they would carry it directly to a family house. Because every house in Sierra Leone, whether in a village, they got number. But here, in Liberia, it's absent. You ask somebody for direction, they'll say, oh, just go under that plum tree, you'll see one woman, she can say, well, market. Ask her, then they'll tell you to go behind the other bee house, and then you clean, you park, you go under the right, you come outside, go, can you imagine? We are behind, like what Mark said, we are behind. 200 years now, almost. We should have gone about some of these things. What is electricity that we got we got waterfalls in Liberia? We got hydro that we cannot sustain it. And everything that they blame it on what? The war. The war is being, children are born during the war time, they are also born their own children too. So the war has been going a long time. So why do we blame everything on this war? And besides that, every government that have come to power, they have received money, help from the international community. So what happens to this money? Then we see people getting rich and rich and richer and richer and richer overnight, but still we complain that we can't even. That you were saying that it's a data system to set up, all these social security number thing. Yes, whether the entire country does not have electricity. But
Linford, can I come here a little bit?
Yeah, come here, brother.
Apart from let us remove the 1980 era and to the 1990, right? Exactly 1990. One of the best time Liberia ever had with the international community when it comes to aid from the international community was during the 12 years of the Ellen Johnson. You understand? Yep. So sometimes when I hear even people from the opposition talking about corruption, mismanagement, only with this George Weah government and not extending to that 12 years, because that 12 years has caused great deal of problem for the country. Under that, during that 12 years, we should have had the issue of electricity solved, where you have the darling of the West. You understand? Ellen Johnson was a darling of the West. Okay. She lacked the how they call it, what I always say about Ellen, she lacked the energy, okay, to do these things, because she had all these things preaching how she's the best person to lead the country. But if you go back to the Ellen Johnson administration, almost $21 billion came in our country. How much you need for electricity? How much you need to connect the roads from one county to another that will, make the poor person who making their little cassava farm or potato farm to be able to transport their market from one end to another. And some of the reason that you find Morea is overcrowded today because Morea is the only, county when it comes to survival. So a lot of people leave the rural area to come to Monserrato County. And we have to go back if we really serious for business, but when it comes to holding administration accountable, not just the CDC administration, but the UP government, and even Vice President Barker was vice president for 12 years. And the only thing you hear from the old man, oh yeah, we squander. So Liberia problem after the war, there's wonderful war. But how much came in our country? How many million years you created?
Mike, if I should share who you right there again.
I come in. Let me finish, Limbo. How many million years you created just within a period of the 12 years within the political sector, and how many million years you created within the private sector? You find the gap is very huge. Okay? You find more million years in the political sector. That's why make a lot of Liberians, they want to become lawmaker. Somebody with no profession want to become lawmaker because it has become the only place of getting successful or getting rich.
Yeah, okay. Like you're talking about the early administration. I 100% agree with you. And the reasons why, in my own view, there are two reasons why the early administration did receive a lot of money. One, the international community has spent a lot of money on the war we had in Liberia, and they wanted the war to be over with so that they will put the country back together and things will become normal, and the strain on the international community, both security and financial wise, will be lesser. That's one of the reasons why they pump in a lot of money. And giving Madame Sally's own contact with the outside world, that's why people call her the darling of the West. And so that was also another reason why she received a lot of money. Okay, now having said that, and we all know that she did receive all that amount of money, but what did she do with the money? So when this government came in, it was the prerogative of this government, or the duty of this government, the George Weah government, to now sit and say, wait, listen, we came from war and our country has received so much amount. And what really happened to this amount of money that we receive for development purpose, and we can't see the development? So what do? Let's go and audit this government and see what happened to the money. Maybe they got some of the money keeping or not. But this Weah government did not do that. They rather graded.
But Linford.
Okay, go ahead.
I made a point here. when $21 billion pass in your hand, you know exactly that if you mean well for that country, $10 million allocated for this one, this amount allocated for this one allocated for this one. But under that government, the amount of millionaires that they created from that $21 billion, I see our guest is struggling to come in. 21, the amount of millionaires they created overnight. So something. So he gone.
Okay,
so something is just now right.
But
yeah?
let me say it this way. The point I'm trying to make here is that the Georgia government seems to be like they'll be crying. Yeah? They will say, "Oh, you know, we don't have money. We didn't get the support that Ellen received." But if you know that Ellen received all that money and you didn't see the development for that money, what would you have done? Go and order them. But they sat down, and so it was like in agreement. In fact, they created the government 80%. So who can
having said that, Lifa, our guest is ready. He's in the back. So finish your thought, then we'll bring him in. And brother Jody will be coming back shortly. And Jody, when you settle, just signal me. I'll bring you on. Yeah, go on, Lifa.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, the bottom part of the whole thing, or the bottom line of the whole thing here is that it was a failure of this government to audit the past administration that got them where they are. Because, and then beside that, they added fuel to the fire, they themselves, by beginning to, take money that the very international community that is giving us the money will go after them and tell them that you are corrupt. So then, who do you blame? So if this government will have to cry, they'll be crying their own cry. I wouldn't listen to them if I were the international community.
Okay, let's bring in our guest so he can dive into this. Good evening and good afternoon from your end. Jonathan, how are you?
Good evening, Mr. Chorople. Good evening to Ford, Judah. I mean, it is just warmth being with you all yesterday. I must apologize upfront for being so late, and it is due to other engagement. But I feel quite warm being here.
Okay, and we let us say welcome to, and we it's not too late here. Whatever one has to say can be said even in 1 or 2 minutes. And so we're very happy to have you here, and we hope this is not going to be the last time that you'll be with us on the bottom line. Here we do discuss everything about Liberia, political, social, economic, and everything we do discuss here. And so feel free. Your views are your views. Nobody holds you responsible for what you say. The only thing is we respect each other's view. We may not like it, we may not agree, but we have to respect what you say and what I say. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so very kindly. Let me also say thanks to all of you for creating this other land by hefty. I mean, this is an immense contribution to our country, to sharing ideas about Liberia and the way forward of our country. I appreciate this so highly.
Okay. Well, having said that, I mean, can you introduce yourself to our listener? They want to know who is this Jennington Taylor delegate. Can you say something about yourself? Like get to know who are you?
So I'm Jennington Taylor Dolake. I hail from Nimba County. I'm from the Alternative National Congress, a founding member, the National Deputy Secretary General, Deputy to Mr. Usher Stool, one of the founding and progenitor of the previous CPP that ended up with Liberty Party now today and the Alternative National Congress. I'm currently in California and wishing to get back December for the voter registration and get engaged in the process of our election. and trying to get the nightmare that we have over our head called President Weah from there democratically. So I'm a humble servant. I'm ordinary. I'm just regular person.
Right. Jody, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? I see you are logged on 2 times, and then you using 2 different devices. I kept kicking the other one out, and I was say coming back.
I think just leave it like that. So as we flow, regards to your position and going back to help, tell us more about, I just wanted to find out, since you've been in the ANC hierarchy for a while now, and you understand what is going on, can you tell our listener what is going on with this list that Mr. Cummings came up with that brought all of this whole hard noise?
Thank you again so kindly. I'd like to first begin by saying that the list is named Team Cummings. There's a deliberate reason why the list is named Cummings. It's named Team Cummings because it is not one person responsibility to draw the innovation that is required. Hello?
Yeah. Talk. Oh, Mike, mute yourself. Okay, talk.
Yes. So one person responsibility to drive all of the innovation, creativity of Mr. Cummings' presidential ambition. It is a team effort. So to put it in a common Liberian manner, when you're cooking your soup, some of the medium BB, the greens can be plenty, or the palm butter plenty. But sometimes the salt, that small salt, the chicken soup small. When they miss out, they form a team that you refer to as soup that you will use for your meal. All of them are artists to it. What Mr. Cummings has done, people who admire his leadership, people who admire his exemplary role that he has played in Liberia, people think that by calling any impunity is the way forward of a leader. People who understand that the first thing, if you hate Liberia as a president, the first thing to tackle all the pressing priority is corruption. Any corruption and building confidence. People who know that the war and economic crime code will be good for those who were accused falsely and for those who were accused because they committed the act to feel that accuser, it is important. Those are the individuals who understand that Mr. Cummings stands for the rule of law, and that Mr. Cummings does not discriminate between tribes and religion, understand that Mr. Cummings is not a traditional politician, and so they're going to put that weight behind him. And to do this is to amalgamate forces through what they call the Team Cummings list, share ideas and suggestions for the forward march of Mr. Cummings' potential bid. So that team will have that discounted opinion about it as to what they think members of that team are getting involved with. Mr. Cummings does not take responsibility, pass action. Mr. Cummings is prepared to lay the bedrock by setting the leadership, setting the tune at the head. So we are prepared to work with everyone on that listing who accept Mr. Cummings, the dream that it's about Liberia, rule of law, accountability, development, and what have you. That's the brief I can say about the team.
Okay, Linford, want to?
Well, Janita, let me say welcome again, and we've been hearing a lot about this team, and there are diverse, opinions about this thing. Even some supporters of Mr. Cummings have had some reservations about the constitution or the composition of this team. And just before I continue, let me say welcome to Senator John Balut, now Ambassador John Balut Jr. of Maryland County, and he's our guest tonight also on the program. So, like we said, we have Mr. Jonathan Dulake and Mr. Ambassador John Balut here tonight. So it's going to be, and both gentlemen are from different political camps. It's not a political war tonight, guys. So don't be afraid. But we know we'll be weighing on our political parties and what they can do or what they have to do. And so, like I was in speech, many people have different opinions about this. The composition of this team Cummings. Now, the question that many people, or the argument many people have been advancing, is that why, since some of these people have been accused or have been listed within the TRC report, why can't they probably support Mr. Cummings silently instead of being included on the team openly, to be the face of Mr. Cummings? Say Mr. Cummings, in fact, France, or he even supports the war crimes code. So what if some of these people, they work with Mr. Cummings and Mr. Cummings becomes president? Do you think he will look at them in the face and turn it over to the war crimes code? So these are some of the arguments that people have been making. How do you address that?
Let me say, welcome, Senator Balut. I'd like to say that, one, Mr. Cummings' acceptance of those who admire him, like I listed, comes from the background that those individuals are well prepared to build themselves to any judiciary process, that they can be heard and they can hear their accuser and they can face their accuser. It is on that bank that those individuals have endorsed Mr. Cummings, are supporting Mr. Cummings. So there is no thin line between them that they will not accept to avail themselves to any judicial process should they be questioned per the recommendation of the TRC report.
Okay, all that they are doing. Let me hold you right there. It's understood. But their presence on this team at the moment is creating doubt in the minds of people who are not diehard ANC supporters, but they were probably sympathizers of Mr. Cummings. And so when they see these people on the team, it gives them second thought and they might back off. Do you see that happening?
Look. We have to be honest with ourselves. I remember that Dr. Gateway McIntosh had been Vice President of ECOWAS. Senator Balu, who is in studio, and other actors, their intervention along with Gateway McIntosh, who are Vice President of ECOWAS, intervention brought about what we call the West Africa pool today that coming from the Southeast. Was it a positive gain for us as a country? It is ours to answer whether it was a positive gain. That Ambassador Louis Brown served United Nations and for 50 years brought us on a committee that we have never been on. Was it a gain for us as a country? It is for us to answer as to whether that was a gain. If Senator Johnson, Prince Johnson, should say I endorse Mr. Cummings today and I support the TRC recommendation for World Economic Crime Establishment so that we can account for what we did, that will be accepted by the Liberian people. The only group of people that we see resent, welcome them, are those who resist the TRC recommendation, are those who are still in the habit of the wartime situation, like you will see my brother Kai Saleh, who will be putting against the raising against Internal Affairs Minister and Cummings. But I don't think many of us here will have issue with, apart from the War Crime Code establishment and people being heard, will have issue with someone like Joshua Blahi, who have been making immense contribution into the community, who have availed himself to any judicial process so that he can face his accuser. So there are two categories of people that we are talking about. Those who resist any form of any impunity versus those who are prepared to accept impunity in our country and want to avail themselves to a judicial process.
Okay,
So those who want to avail themselves.
now let's welcome Oricha Menon. She's one of our panelists. Senator Balu is actually on the show. He was invited on a different topic, but we're going to conglomerate everything tonight. A politician, as a politician, you'll always be prepared. You are like the military. They can call on you anytime to go to battle. So, Senator Balu, you come from different political camps. You're not from the ANC. How do you look at the constitution of this or the composition of this team comings that have been in the news of late? How do you look at it? How do you describe it?
Well, let me thank you. Thanks for the invitation and greetings to everyone following the show. I think by that question, you are referring to those that people consider
exactly
non-desirable because of their participation in the wars and all of that. But I say one thing though, and I think that our entire country were missing a point. And I hope from now on, those listening and even you can use this as a basis for an argument in this regard. To answer this, we'll go 2 steps back. I don't blame people who fought the war because they fought the war. I don't blame people who took out arms to fight the war. I don't blame people who supported the war. Because to answer those questions, you have to ask yourself 2 fundamental questions. What were they fighting? If they were fighting a dictatorship, I congratulate them. If they were fighting a democracy, I condemn them. And that will be a question that each and every one will have to address before we can further the argument. And now, in my view, and this point of view I'm putting forth today has been my point of view from the onset of the TRC. Even with the report of the TRC, when I was asked to make comments on it and express my views. So I don't blame people. I don't take for example, Prince Johnson, Charles Taylor. What were they fighting? 1990, everyone, the most part of Liberians in the country and out of the country, internationally, all agreed that our government was a dictatorship. Majority of us. So in that regard, I congratulate all of them that took out arms, all of them that took up the struggle, all of them that resisted and fought dictatorship. The real question, though, is this. The what they were fighting was dictatorship. The how is where the issue is today. How did they fight the dictatorship? If you fought the dictatorship by committing the same atrocities as the dictator, then you will be held accountable as we are holding the dictators accountable. So my point is not what. They fought the war, I congratulated them. That's why all of us were heralding them. That's why we were praising Charles Taylor. That's why we're congratulating him until we saw the true colors of how he was opposing the dictator. He committed even greater atrocities. That's why he's held accountable today, and that's why we're having the TRC to hold all those who embarked on a heroic venture. We're holding them accountable on how they fought the dictatorship. So now, with that set aside, I don't hold anybody guilty because they resisted a dictatorship. I hold them guilty based on the accountability on how they resisted the dictatorship. So to render a guilty judgment on any Liberian is to first and foremost point out how they resisted the dictatorship, what role they play, how they play that role. And so that is, because I will say this much to you, if we have another dictator in this country, it is expected that we will resist that dictator. Are you understanding? And if we go for election and that dictator rigs the election, there will be other measures. If there will be coup d'etat and they resist the coup d'etat and go after people by the tribe and and aggravate the dictatorship, worsen it, there will be another war. There will always be a way to resist dictatorship, and those who resist the dictatorship will be correct. The whole issue of accountability is that tomorrow we set a precedence. There will always be differences because as human beings, we will always differ. Yeah. This accountability system of the TRC is to tell you, as you differ in the future and as you fight to resist dictatorship, we will hold you accountable the same way we're holding people accountable today. So you better be mindful. So my whole approach to the TRC is not to catch people guilty. These people who committed the atrocities, they have committed the atrocities. But it's to serve as a deterrence for future would-be offenders of human rights as they address the ills of society. We will have to set limits. So to address the TRS, the members of the communist team, you cannot render blanket condemnation on people without pointing out how they abuse the rights of others, how they committed atrocity, or how they violated the rules of engagement in resisting the dictatorship. So I hope that's my position. I don't blame them. For the optics, it would have been a good thing if Cummings had played it a little bit more strategically. But by bringing them on board, in its own way, is a way of opening up for every Liberian, irrespective of
how strategic would you handle such a situation, Mr. Cummings?
Like some of you have mentioned, they could have been in the background. Okay? But the fact that they're in the forefront or the background doesn't change anything if you cannot point out how. And you understand me? How they have abused human rights. You cannot point out how they are guilty of these atrocities. They are war heroes and they are war criminals. That's why you see the unknown soldier erected before. These are people who saved many people's lives. They are people who got us where we are today because they fought and resisted the dictatorship. They gave us democracy. They gave us an opportunity to have a new beginning. So in many regards, they are heroes. And in many regards, they are criminals, war criminals, based on the individual roles that they play on how they resisted the dictatorship. That's my opinion on it.
I have a question, Mr. Hala. I will go back to what you were talking about, those who participated or didn't participate. If to say under a communist leadership, they establish a court and find individuals in Liberia who are guilty of certain atrocities during the war. I mean, don't you think they should at least face, the law where they can be put in jail? I mean, it don't necessarily.
You mute, Rita.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We hear you.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I don't know if my question was clear.
Can you repeat the last phrase of the question?
Yeah. No, what I said was that if they are found guilty, don't you think they ought to, pay for these crimes if they commit a crime?
Of course. And not even after someone is elected. Even now, I support the TRC 100%. I support the establishment of war crime code and economic war crime code. I supported it when I was in the Senate. I support it now, and I'll support it tomorrow. And nobody will shield anybody, no matter how protected or connected you are. That's why people like us have started to speak in this country. There are people presently connected to the ruling establishment. I was on radio the other day, especially with those on the sanction list, these new sanctioned officials and the previous two, Vanish Shema and Prince Johnson. I said to them, there may not be laws in this country to stop you from participating in elections. There may not be laws in this country to limit your rights. But for the sake of this country and these vulnerable people, I ask them to not run, not to even contest the election. If they love this country, they will sacrifice their own rights and not run. Because by doing so, puts your interest in front of the interest of the country and will compromise the level of cooperation and support Liberia to otherwise benefit from the United States. So yes, they should be held accountable. And we will hold everybody accountable, those who've been brought to books. But until that, I mean, except, there are certain people who have not yet appeared before courts, but their actions were glaring in the public view. And everybody knows what role they play. So you don't need to be convicted in the court of competent jurisdiction. You've already been convicted by popular opinion because of the thousands of witnesses who were hearing themselves. So until we can establish that, no, I don't think I'm in any position to speak against any of those people on the list or anywhere else until they have the fair time in court and something we look forward to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, welcome, Senator. It's good to see you again. And the last time you were here, we had a very good discussion. It's good to see you here again. So before I come in, I'll let for Brother Far to come in and ask the question before I can come in. Jody? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Unmute yourself, Mike. Yeah, you're good to go.
Still not hearing you. Not hearing you.
We're not hearing you. I think you got to work on that. Oh, but Paul, I think you can flow, and then when Mark gets his stuff right then, because I got a couple of questions for the honorable.
So yeah, so honorable, it's good to have you here. And recent time, I've been following your activities in Liberia. I know there was a demonstration here the other day, peaceful protest. You went to the American embassy to petition the U.S. government to bring more sanctions. You were just talking about Vani Shemo. How did that petition go? And do you think it's going to bring more? There will be more sanctions on the ruling establishment for what is happening in Liberia?
Well, first of all, is why did we have this march? It was a march of appreciation, because in this country, when the good people, the intelligent people, for lack of better words, sit supinely and let irresponsible people take the center stage, we send a wrong impression to the world on who and what Liberia is. You understand me? We set a wrong impression on the value system of our country. And we let people to go away with the opinion that Liberians are a bunch of useless people. They don't know what's good for them, and leave them as they are because they deserve it. What prompted we the people, we had this group called We the People to deal with people-focused issues. You started hearing people saying, sanction or no sanction, we vote for you. That same ridiculous talk that people had, you kill my mom, you kill my pa, we vote for you. That same nonsensical song people sang, you know book, you don't know book, we vote for you. Now is now creeping into sanction or no sanction, we vote for you. No. And there was a popular wave of propaganda going around saying that the Americans were intruding in Liberia domestic politics, that the Americans were this, that this was done by Cummings or this, by that. No. Don't distract from the issue. So it was necessary at that time to let the United States know, as well as the international community, that there are people in this country who are bold enough to speak in clear and unequivocal terms that we are satisfied with this. We ask you to increase the radar on Liberia, increase the sanctions on those who have identified as of looting the public coffers and public corruption. So that's why we had it. And did it go well? It went very well. It went very well. We didn't intend to disrupt. We asked our people to meet on Carey Street, right behind Finance Ministry, just 2-3 minutes walk from the American Embassy. Just 5 minutes walk from the American Embassy. We gathered, we went there, we presented our thing, we made a few statements. In 45 minutes, 1 hour, it was over. We told everyone to go by themselves, and there was no incident. It was not meant to disrupt. It was not meant to antagonize government. It was not meant to point fingers. It was meant to send a message to the world that there are people in Liberia
who support these sanctions, who are grateful for the sanctions, and we ask them to do more. I don't know if you had access for the petition that we wrote, but I can forward you a copy so that you paste on your page.
Okay.
Because under the same breath, we've asked the American government why they're increasing sanctions on corrupt officials. We asked them to increase the financial assistance to the people of Liberia. Because the need was imperative, as we mentioned. Imperative because our people are dirt poor as a result of uncontrollable corruption and abuse of public trust. So yes, that's why we called it, and yes, it went very well. And yes, we look forward to seeing this. And like I said, we mentioned, that's why we never mentioned their names. I said their names are not important in this exercise. The Tuareg, the McGill, and Seaforth, they're not important. I said they're just the first casualty. What is important now is how we tackle corruption and we set a precedent for succeeding governments, not even this one. Because of these sanctions, anybody coming to power, any office, public trust, including myself, we will be 10 times more mindful because there are, sanctions, there are cameras, there are radar, there are people checking. And that's all. It's just to serve as a deterrence. So yes, we did that and we're quite pleased with it and we stand by it.
Okay. Fast forward, Senator Balut and his group, We the People. I believe it includes each and every one of us here, Liberians here. But let me ask you one question.
I hereby gave you all automatic membership.
Okay, I accept it. We understand that you also planning to have another march. We wouldn't want to call it protest, we wouldn't want to call it demonstration, but a march. And this time, you are selecting a particular ill in a society to talk about, that is drugs abuse. Is that true? And if that is true, why at this time when there have been drug abuse in the country forever and ever?
No, there are certain ills of society that get worse with time. The drug dealers, importers, and suppliers, they're getting more and more sophisticated, not only in Liberia, around the world. If you don't have a matching countermeasure from your government in terms of your own capacity build up and your own sophistication, you're going to be left behind in this fight with drugs. When we were in office, I'm sure you're referring to my time in office, we had drug problem, but not like this. That's why we passed the drug law. What we had alarming in our time, and I said this, I voted for death penalty in Liberia, the laws. When we just came from the war, the first election, first year, 2 years, I voted for the death penalty because the culture of impunity was so high here that people with simple arguments will kill each other and nothing comes out of it. You blow me, I will kill you. Nothing will, that's what the popular slang, where we just came from war. Such a time, such the condition. I voted then. If I have a chance to vote again on death penalty, I would not vote on death penalty because the conditions have changed because of the gravity of the law we passed. Such a time, such a condition. We also passed a very exaggerated law, the rape law, because at that time, rape was on the increase. It was rampant. People were reckless, careless, taking advantage of the vulnerable women. So we passed a law that was so heavy that people were suspicious of what they called it the Ellen Johnson outside trap, because everything was considered rape under that law. We exaggerated the law to send a message. Now today, the drug law that we passed, things have changed. Such a time, such a condition. That's why the drug law that's before the legislature now is calling, that the people have sent there, is calling for non-bailable, offense. And that is what needs to happen. So if you ask me why now, because it has gotten worse and government has not measured the counter offense to the aggressive posture of these.
But you mentioned that the drug dealers, the users, they are getting sophisticated, not only in Liberia, but around the world. And then in a country like Liberia, where the laws are on the book, but the execution are practically absent. How do you, as an ordinary citizen, so to speak, expect to effect any change when the government itself is not making any effort to execute?
Well, we're just asking the government to develop the political will to do what is right for the citizens. Look, we came from war, entire generation sacrificed. A second generation is currently being sacrificed. You understand? We have not given these children proper education. We've not given them proper homes. We're not giving them proper health. Their families are not working. They're not working. We're not giving them skills. There are no vocational skills they have acquired. They lost on their school life. On top of that, we have left them exposed and vulnerable to the high influx of drugs coming into this country. I don't know how much you know about the level of drug infiltration into Liberia. Now the kids in the high school, they are now hooked on cocaine, Italian white, tar, and all of those things. In high schools, people are selling them now. We have few, and I hate to say this because in recent times I have started calling on a certain nationality. I've singled out the Nigerians. I've called on our government to put aside diplomacy, engage the Nigerian embassy, and tell them of the alarming threat that the Nigerians are posing to Liberia by destroying the livelihood of our young people. I've asked the government to form a partnership with the DEA of Nigeria to come here and form a technical partnership cooperation in dealing with these people because the Nigerian DEA are more sophisticated than ours. I've called on the government to develop the political will. As I speak to you, pretty close to 70% of the DEA, Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency, they are volunteers. People just for partisan level, oh, go work, volunteer. It's the same situation with the education ministry. No compensation, they are all volunteer. The health ministry, they are all volunteers. You can probably do those and the consequences are bad, but they're manageable. But when you start to have this high inflow, up to 60, 70% of the DEA officers, volunteers, they are facilitating the trade. They are letting these things pass because these importers and pushers, they have money to share around. So we've asked the government to take the bold step, not because it is their choice. It is our right as citizens to demand of the government to do the work they are expected to do. And the thing about we the people is that we do not fight government. We form partnership with government. We are telling the government we refuse to accept drugs in this country that will destroy our children. We challenge you to build up the muscles and do your job. We offer ourselves in partnership, but by all means, we will get rid of this problem. Whether you're willing or not, we will get rid of this problem because we, the people, have decided so. You understand me? And the drug is not affecting people from the opposition alone. It's affecting people from the ruling party. It's not affecting people from the southeast alone. It's affecting people from the northwest of this country. It is a national existential threat that people like us are compelled to stand up and speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, who are afraid to speak before they become antagonized by government officials. We're there. We exact our authority because we have been given the authority by the people over the years. We express ourselves and help formulate public opinion because we have earned that space in the society from the support of the very citizens themselves. To whom much is given, much is expected. That's why we are doing this.
Paul, you are muted.
We'll bring in Brother Far and then we'll come to Brother Jennifer Dalake. So, Jody, you want to come in quickly?
Yeah, am I good now?
Yeah, you're good to go. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I want to start with what the ambassador said when it comes to how they call it, the TRC, and how people point fingers to some of the people we refer to as warlords today. When it comes to rebellion, those that rebel against the state, they don't follow what is the actual rules of engagement in fighting against an elected government. So a lot of things happen during our process. And the how that he said is very important because if we go to the history of the war, for example, like the Nima raid, right? What happened at Nima raid that, escalated the whole thing. For example, that our brothers from Nima County, some of them saw their parents being thrown into where, saw their parents massacred before them, and nothing was done about it. It was done by the state, not by, how they call it, another ethnic group, but the state. And when they decided that they were powerless and to do things, to take the law into their hands in a positive way, and the whole Liberia were fighting under a dictatorship, few things happen when he talked about the how. For example, where Prince Johnson killing people that were not combatant, go into community, killing women that were not combatant, killing other innocent men that even work in the government, but they were not military personnel. So I think that's the how that would need to be looked at when it comes to the whole TRC process, not just by pointing finger because somebody was, with the, how they call it, rebellion force and on the government side too, but how the crime was done, not on a battlefront, but into community, then those people need to be held accountable. Then when it comes to the drugs in the country that the Honorable Ambassador talked about, first of all, our country is being overrun little by little. It's not just only the Nigerian. We have a huge problem in the country when it comes to the immigration system. What system do we have in place? You got almost, I've not been to Liberia for a long time, but I talk to people, you got almost million foreign national living in the country, just like that. You got a Nigerian, you got a Burkinabe in the southeast, or the Malian in the southeast, and you got a Fula. So we don't have a system in place. And I also will support what the ambassador said when it comes to some kind of a hard punishment for people that are caught selling drugs. And one of the factors to this drugs issue here, I think the 12 years of the UP government, they didn't do enough. So one of my questions here to the ambassador, during your time as senator, what was the pressure that came from you to the UP government? Because I heard you talk about one or two things, but how far did you work across the aisle to have few of your colleagues on board? First of all, the rehabilitation of our children that were victimized during the war that we refer to as ZOCO, which is a deficit to the human capital, human resource capital in the country. How far did you go? Did you work along with other partisans in the during your time as senator? And then when it comes to the immigration issue, what did you do during your time as senator to have some control on the flux of immigrants in the country?
Well, let me take two steps back when we're dealing with immigrants. West African citizens can move around freely in this region without visas. The same way we go around without visas. But it still doesn't take away the role of the immigration, like you said, to make sure that they are here the right way. Let me also go back and speak with small conditions on my mentioning of Nigerians. I am one person who remains eternally grateful to Nigeria and ECOWAS for the role they play in bringing peace to Liberia. Nigerians pay a huge price. I say we will always be indebted to them. So by me mentioning this is not in any way trying to attack them, no. But despite our indebtedness, our relationship, our partnership, when we are dealing with our survival of our children, we are compelled to call a spade at some point in time. So I call on the government, especially the Nigerian embassy, to get involved because there are too many good Nigerians in Liberia. And they are the bad ones in Liberia. 90%, if 80%, if not 90% of those importers are Nigerians. We will not let that happen, slip on our watch. We as parents, as stakeholders, as leaders, as opinion leaders, that includes you, As long as we have breath, we're under obligation to protect the next generation. What you see today in this country, you never saw it before in your life. If we don't nip it now in the bud, we will have ourselves to blame when we lose our country and then lose the children's livelihood. Now, what did I do? You know, there are different times in the government continuum that come with their own challenges. When we took over the government,
The device is muted.
It's frozen.
Okay, it's the internet service in Liberia, so we just have to bear with while we're waiting to come back on. Brother Chillington, do you want to say something about this drug issue that is happening? What would the comments left government? Senator, you back?
I think he back.
Yes,
he back.
Okay.
So with every government, they have their set of challenges. The challenge we were faced with, that's what I just to go back a little bit. I get annoyed with members, the government officials who try to shift blame on Unity Party. Oh, because you didn't do this, that way. They're not even honest enough to speak to what we had to deal with. The immigration, we reconstructed the immigration. The army, we reconstructed the army. The police, we reconstructed the police. The roads, the institutions of government, the LACC, the Governance Commission, the GAC, look, just name it. We had to do everything. We restore the Constitution, for Christ's sake. Constitution was suspended. So we had our own challenges. And we inherited a totally failed, non-functioning state. What we gave to them is a blessing on a silver platter.
I'm tempted to ask you, I know, but I'm tempted to ask you, when you say you inherited a failed state, others are also arguing that you also receive too much money support because you indeed inherited a war-torn state. But what happened to that money?
So if you can just note that while I address Mr. Farr's statement concern, then I can come back to you, because I really don't want you to forget that I've been hearing too much of this kind of thing. We need to address it today. Okay. So what did we do? We activated the DEA. We funded the DEA. That's what we did. You understand? I chaired the Committee on Defense and Security and Veteran Affairs. I was pivotal in the restructuring of our security sector. So that's what we did. When I left, I was no longer chairing that committee. I was chairing another committee. But we, at that time, we were revisiting the drug law to make it non-bailable because of the emerging trend of sophistication and widespread abuse. That's what we were doing. The thing is, government is continuity. People should have followed up on that. Okay? So those are the kind of, and I'm one person, you know, I don't limit myself to political party ID card. I'm a civil engineer by profession. When I got involved in politics, it's because of passion to make a difference in the country. So if each and every one of you have an opportunity to serve as representative senator, you know what you will be coming to the table with. You know, it will not be just like any other thing, because you had a chance and a yearning to make a difference. You will make a difference. So yes, I practically challenged my own party. I said over and over repeatedly, I openly opposed my own party on many issues, including President Salif in our executive committee meetings. I lost my own re-election bid, not because of my own fault totally, but because of my own party campaigning against me at the leadership hierarchy. I'm compelled to say some of these things. Are you following me there? So just to tell you what we've done, we played all the part that we could play. We gave him the support. We had the supervision. We had the oversight. We monitored the process. But unfortunately, since we left, where we left these institutions, where we left the funding, where we left the support, everything had deteriorated. I mean, even where you expect the football president to make an improvement, they deteriorated the funding and support, even for county meat. County meat, what they are giving the people now, they're less than 40-30% what we were giving the county. Just imagine football, the one thing that they could boast about. And I'm not saying this to put them down. I'm saying that to say, try to look at yourself in the mirror before you point accusing fingers to other people for not doing what you said you were going to do.
Right.
So now you, Linford, may I come to your concern?
Yeah.
Yes, we had all these challenges, but you received all this support. What did you do with it? If you were somebody who was visiting Liberia before we came to power and when we left, you would have seen what we've done with the money. And the question is, and that's why I say to the government officials, stop making that flimsy excuse, because once they ask the little question, all the CDC people memorize this like some recitation, and that's the song they sing. And I just say to you, look, instead of asking those questions, you know the question they should be asking? And I said to them, from the president down, all the participants from that group, the question you should be asking is, how come Ellen Johnson Sirleaf got all this support and you are here, you can't get the support? How come Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was probably the most invited president on the continent and you can get invited to any serious country?
Yeah, they say Ellen was the darling of the West.
I'm just saying, how come? You think it's because of her perfume she was using? You think so? How come Ellen could be decorated by the president of the most enviable and greatest democracy, the world's superpower, in front of John Congress of the United States, placed a medal on her? And you can get an invitation to even go to America.
Yeah.
5 years now.
Let's bring in Jonathan on this.
So maybe I would just land because it's a lot.
Ask Ambassador Ballard a question.
Ambassador, you already answered my question.
Yeah.
I know.
You were and you will dream about it before you ask that question next time.
Right.
How come that all the major presidents of the world, leading nations of the world, the president visited Liberia under Ellen Johnson's leadership, and now one person outside of ECOWAS can come here? How come? And the reason I said to them, instead of pointing finger and trying to play nasty with politics, try and take your copybook and learn. Government is continuity. We did it. Don't fight us. Learn from us. Because after all, if you continue on the path we're going, all of us tend to benefit. No one has any interest in you failing. But don't blunder and you don't want to take responsibility.
So based on that, Senator, maybe her perfume was, maybe her perfume was smelling nice, so it attracted a lot of people. But I want to bring Jonathan in on this. Mr. Cummings have the same perfume when he become president, bring a lot of people in, Jonathan?
Thanks to Senator Balu, he laid out quite well. No one, among all of us here, no one scapegoat, no one shift the responsibility to another person and come up with any innovative means and ways by which they can solve problems. You must confront the situation that you have. You must have creative means and manner by which you can get around it. You can take full responsibility. When you shift responsibility, others, it means that you are not taking responsibility yourself. So, Mr. Cummings, from the background of corporate America, I can safely say that Mr. Cummings will not take 5 years before reaching Washington and having conversation with the President of the United States. I think it will take maybe 6 months because you need to get a foot on the ground, a year, in order to interact with international partners. I think he comes with that poise in order to attract people. But very importantly, the issue about drugs in our country. Yes, people were taking drugs during the 12 years of Madam Sirleaf, but the proportion at which it has reached, where every graveyard in every community is drug dealers, and source, it is appalling to our country. I remember the Ellen Erebro, who brought beauty to Central Monrovia, and the grave sat on Center Street. Today, that fence has fallen. People are living there. Drugs dealers are in that. They are in Broadville. They are everywhere where you can find graveyard. And I think we have to drastically approach this situation, like Senator Balu said. The fortunate thing here is that our country has turned to be a transit point for drug cartel in the country. So now it requires all of us attention. I just listened to the Facebook, and I saw that another person was appointed at the Freeport who had been alleged of being involved into drug situation quickly. Now, I'm not presenting a fight here, but if we have 100 million of drugs that was in transit in our country, someone with a history of being involved into drugs is being elevated to the Freeport of Monrovia, it's a gateway cartel by anyone who will want to assume. So while the international partners are helping us here and there, the issue of drugs and the transshipment, the issue of people who are very corrupt and people who are stealing the wealth of our nation, the likes of Cephas, McGill, and that of Bill Tuawe, upon our shoulder, and that's why I respect Senator Balu, our shoulder, ordinary Liberians, people who are well-intentioned. Because if we do nothing, the presentation out there is that don't care. The best we are offering through disgruntled attitude, but people get frustrated and get on the street and rise. So it is required of us. It is required of us to do our best at this time that can curb this issue of drugs. And I cannot speak to Mr. Cummings' platform because that I know for a certainty that he wants to first deal with the issue of rehabilitation, deal with the issue of corruption, and we cannot allow. The last time I checked the statistics from one of the organizer is that we have almost 80,000 disadvantaged young people who are disadvantaged in that aspect. So it is some more 1,000% disadvantage in that aspect. It means that we are not prepared to have 1,000% who cannot contribute to our economy. So we must redeem those number of person or even higher than that number in order to contribute. Or else serve as a harming point for us who live in our country like we are living in a country where our safety will be questioned and anything can happen. And that is why we are needs to do much more. They allocated, I think, 17 million, according to what I heard, if not 13, for rehabilitation. He said that had taken place in 2021 at the GA Assembly. He provided us no statistics as to how many young people are elevated stage to another stage. And we don't want that kind of huge sum of money to be siphoned by government officials again and leave our people not go into the demobilization process of the United Nations properly, and today are trying to be burdened on us. So we hope President Weah will be able to utilize this amount that he pronounced at GA to affect the lives of our young disadvantaged people who have been drugged and who are on drug supply.
Okay, thank you. Orita, you want to come in quickly? Then we'll go to Linford and
I want to, Ambassador Balu, I want to go back to the question Linford asked you. And it have to do with prominent UP members who, in the public, they too are placing blame on Ellen, where they felt like they squandered, money, resources, and stuff. What's your take on that?
Be specific. Who are you talking about?
No, like the former vice president, when the interview he did where he said that the UP-led government squandered resources that could have promoted the development in the right direction. I'm asking it because you stated that and a lot of us know that the UP government, they did a good job in certain areas, but hearing from some other members saying that UP really didn't make use of the resources that were given to their government at that time. What's your take on that?
Well, again, I would just say this. When opposition hear one thing that sounds good to them, they run with it. When another party, the point is this: Ambassador Boakai was just being modest, was just being honest and humbled. He's not bragging that they're the best. We solve all the problem with this, with that. Despite the fact that he knows that this country has been drastically, significantly transformed, he, in his humble nature, alluded to the fact that yes, we may have squandered some opportunities. And that's a fact. Which government in the entire world can say they may not have squandered some opportunities? Which one of you in your respective roles in society will never admit that you may have squandered some opportunities that you regret on? He's just been honest. The same way President Sirleaf was honest when she said corruption is this thing hard to fight. There was a woman who was establishing the GAC, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the Whistleblower Act, the Freedom of Information Act. That's the woman who did us, and many more. But she was admitting how difficult it was to fight corruption. That's because she's modest. This woman who said, the president who said, our education remains a mess. That is in her own frustration with her management team in not seeing the desired results she anticipated. And she had to express her own indignation based on her observation. That's being honest, that's being modest. But there's a woman who had built hundreds of schools across the country. There's the person who had reactivated all the teacher training colleges, who have put junior colleges across the country, who have rebuilt the Tottenham University, taking it from college to a university. There's a woman who has sent hundreds, if not thousands of students with opportunity for scholarships and abroad, establishing these things. That's what she's done. That's how significantly she has impacted the education. But in her modesty, she said, education is a mess. Now, that's being modest, that's being sincere, honest, and relating to the people at the level, accepting some of the blame. I congratulate him for that. So not people play fun with these things. No. Which one of them, what have they done compared to what Unity Party has done with the education? What? The entire education system are volunteers. People not taking pay. People's salaries are cut. When we are increasing salaries, you're cutting the salaries. When we are improving on the subsistence, on the logistical support and subsidy, you're cutting on them. What have you increased?
Yeah, but so somebody will argue that you just blow it out of proportion. Probably want to get good names, so you increase the salary, even if it's not forthcoming.
And one thing
let me help you to address that.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe you are right, but to assume, but to be right, you must have the empirical evidence. You must have the facts before you. Since Unity Party took office, we never defaulted on 1 month payment. People took pay on the 28th of the month, every month.
Yeah, you had the money. The money was coming, forthcoming.
You want me to go back and ask you why you don't get the money and we had the money? You want us to go back to that discussion?
Yeah. Okay, I will answer that. The money because you spoke about time earlier on, that everything has time. So at that time, the sympathy towards Liberia, the empathy, the international community felt that, yes, these people needed money at this time. And knowing our president at that time, they trusted her. So they gave her all the money. Let's say they had a bunch of money waiting somewhere. They gave her everything, hoping that things will improve. But then, here we are.
Unfortunately, the way you see government like a fairy tale, that's not how it is. I regret to say that. Wake up to reality. When you're in government, you see it's a little bit more different. There's a woman who led the country to economic reform and waive our $5 billion debt and reestablish a line of credit that opened the doors for international partnership, that brought back even the Peace Corps that had led this country for years, that have brought back banks, that we stopped the bank, more than 5-6 banks, that brought all the international airlines. Since the government came to power, they are closing one by one and they are all returning. Even Air France, where the president played football, they are closed. I am someone who's focusing on what we can work with the people. Don't make us to start hitting them. They think I'm attacking them.
No. For me, my question, it was but the question, why I asked the question, Ambassador, because the question is that I do believe Liberians, contemporary, the way things are in Liberia, Liberians in the diaspora and on ground the urge to develop Liberia is huge. So I'm not doubting the fact that we as Liberians don't want development. But I asked that question because, Uncle, so we former Vice President in Boyka. The way you are informing us, giving us empirical, facts, that is something I wanted him to come with. But when he came on the scene, it was this thing where he threw Ellen under the bus every little chance that was given to him. And this is a man who he enjoyed, the resources for the 12 years. So, and for me and many other Liberians, then they would say that, but if Ellen was doing all these things you felt was so wrong, why didn't you voice it in some way, like you said earlier, in the Senate? And hearing from, the discussion from in the beginning till now, you really seem like a senator who would tell another senator like, oh, you know what, my man, I think you're doing, and not in the Liberian interest. So just either you change it or you come with something new. Why couldn't Ambassador Boyka go with that?
Well, again, when the Ambassador Boyka, the vice president, said it's like a race car that was parked, even the way I spoke as a senator, I held President Salif accountable. One time, we had it many times, but one time I told her, you know what? If you don't want me to be frank with you, I can just sit down and praise you, and like where everybody else praising. You know what she told me? No, Senator, I don't want you to praise me. I want you to continue the way you do, say the thing facts to me. But just sometimes you can just make me annoyed with this thing. So that's how we had it. But she encouraged me to be objective with her, because at the bottom line, she knew that my intentions were good. They were meant to make her better. Like today, I will defend Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as much as I can, despite our shortcomings that I admit to. But I can tell you on the overall, she did exceedingly well under the circumstances. Now, Ambassador Boyka, he was from the executive. This was a vice president. He was meant to be supportive and not to be confrontational. The very same government today in power, all of them made fun of the parking car. Where is Joel's car today? Is it on the highway or is it parked?
But Joel had not complained.
No. I'm just saying to you, when he explained to you, because tomorrow when we ask Joel today, on issue the Vice President Joel Howard Taylor, let me correct it. If we ask her, why you lied to us, said that there were rice in the country when you came and that the people were playing politics where there were no rice, what will she say? She will have to defend that, disassociate herself, and embarrass the president, because I said they misled the country and they lied, and they should take the responsibility to correct that. Why they will ask them tomorrow, why are these things going the way they're going? Why today you have all these things? What will she say? So at the end of the day, let's sleep in door lie. I agree that the vice president difference with President Sirleaf is a major political mishap. It's regrettable, and I frown on it. I spoke with both of them separately, I intervened, and at some point, I condemned. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't help any one of them. That's why I still maintain my position today. I'm not a member of the CPP today as I speak. I resigned, and I've not reestablished my membership also with Unity Party or any other political party. Because from the outside, I'm not satisfied with what I'm looking at. Now, even dealing with the issue of...
Hold on,
let me
Senator.
conclude.
See, no, I'll not let you finish right here, Senators. Please, let me cut you off. I had this question to ask you, and then you just jump into it through your explanation. There are rumors that a Unity Party is divided. Are you aware of that? And let's make it conversational. I will say yes or no, and then we'll move forward. Do you agree with that? Are you people divided?
Is your program closing in 6 minutes, or do you have more time?
No, I can give you 30 more minutes.
We can flow.
Go. Yeah.
Okay, so we flow. Well, I do know when you go through conventions, there are some parties that are aggrieved, and it takes time to heal. And I think so far they're doing the right thing. They are reconciling the party. They're having their own discussions in-house. For me,
are you no more part of the Unity Party?
No, not now. I resigned from the party because I told you, I don't know, during the last elections, when they divided the counties based on this, and I said it was mockery of democracy, I resigned to further my ambition of representing the county as a senator and remain in the mainstream of the governance of the country. So it didn't work. I have not been able to go back because of many reasons. Okay? And
are they willing to accept you back?
Well, I think they've been willing from day one. I think it's left with me. I mean, even after I resigned, the party had written me to ask me to represent Maryland and hoisting the county flag when we were moving into the new party headquarters, even though on record I had resigned. I still respected it. I went there, I did it, because I wouldn't embarrass Ambassador Boakai and the party. This is the party I've been part of all along. That's the people I know. That's the party we built. But
So with this belief that the party is divided between former President Salif and former Vice President Boakai, if Senator Balu was to make that critical decision today to take a side, where are you going to fall? Because it seems as though you stay, owe some loyalty to both people, both VP and President.
Again, you are assuming something I have not confirmed. I never agree with you that the party is divided. Okay, I do know.
You didn't agree.
I do know that Liberty Party is divided. I do know that the NPP is now divided, something I regret, even from the opposition. I call for unity in all of our political institutions. And
have you followed the news that VP Boakai is traveling to the United States to go for reconciliation meeting among Unity partisans in the US? If the party is not divided, why would you want to reconcile? Why would you want to create unity? Because I listened to it. On the Costa show.
Let me help you. Let me help you understand that. It is the role of the standard bearer to unite the party and move forward to elections as a united party. There are a lot of sentiments, not only in the Unity Party, but all the political parties of the country. Now, a standard bearer who was embarked on a project to unite this party, that gesture is quite commendable.
Yeah, but we're talking about two words here. It is unity, because where there is unity, you cannot unite again. You can only unite where there's this unity.
Linford, you got other people on the show too. You alone can take over the whole show, man.
I just explained to you that there are a lot of us who resigned from the party, go separate ways because of things we were not satisfied with in the last elections. There are a lot of people who went through the last convention and not satisfied with some issues, were supporting different sides. Even at the level of the youth, there are still some contending issues. You understand that? There are a lot of partisans who have been neglected, for lack of better words, over the years and feel that they have been left in the cold. So if you are going to move forward as a united front, you have to reconcile the party with these differences. This doesn't in any way signify that the party is divided or that President Salih has a branch and this and that. No. I think, no, you must be reading a book I have not seen yet.
Right. So based on that, you might be reading a book. Let's speak to Brother Jody. You want to ask a question, then we'll come with Jellington before.
Yeah, first of all, Paul, we have to go by time. If you got a lot of people on the show, you can have one sector or one group of people, dominating the show, and other people just sitting like we're watching a movie. So we have to do better on that.
I think we can do that behind closed door. We can talk about that.
How they call it? Yeah, Senator. First of all, to my brother Dolake, I believe that Mr. Cummings from the corporate world as an administrator, he would do very good for Liberia, because there's corporate world. A lot of people work in the corporate world. We are seeing them and they go back to Liberia and it become a failure. But as an administrator from the corporate world are two different things. He's going to do extremely well from what I've been following of Mr. Cummings. And that's one of the reasons that, I glued to Mr. Cummings so much. The ambassador, he talked about Ellen being accomplishing a lot and the country was X, Y, Z. But he forgetting the fact that we had almost 17,000 peacekeepers in the country. And the 17,000 peacekeepers in the country, they also help to, boost the country economy by the purchasing power. And when these 17,000 people left, it also create problem for the economy. Like my grandfather said, when you're eating a sour mango and your friend think that it's sweet based on the way your mouth is moving, you gave them for them to taste the sourness in a mango. And that's where we have found himself, as we speak. And for 12 years in waiting, he never drew his chest bow. He and his team, they had no plan. So for me, I got no, sympathy for them, because if we want to set the score straight, they also inherited a mess from the UP government. For the past 12 years, government, you sit on the show and you talk about a lot of things you people have accomplished. But one of the main important things in the country that you people forgot to improve is the security apparatus in the country. And you people left the country in a position like we don't have enough security apparatus to combat some of the crimes in the country. That's one of the things. And I believe VP Ambassador, he was being honest to say that we squander resources, and how the resources were squandered. I think he never had an opportunity to go into depth in that. But one of the things he said that, like the lucrative salary that some people were getting, 20,000, 15,000 here and there, people are not supposed to be making that money, for example, which the CDC harmonization, it was a good thing. But where is the money going? We're not seeing it. So my question to you here, 12 years of leadership, what did you people do to improve the security apparatus? 12 years under your leadership. The University of Liberia, when George Weah then took over, was also in a bad position. What did you people do to improve the University of Liberia? What did you people do the 12 years that you people were in power that you so brag about to build, for example, the electricity capacity throughout the country? 12 years during the UP government, what did you people do for Liberia to have adequate water supply across the country? Ellen was a darling. Ellen went to America according to you, met world leaders here and there. 12 years meeting world leaders, for which country like Sweden could have electrified Liberia, Norway, the Scandinavia, they contribute hundreds of millions of dollars to Liberia. 12 years, what did you people do to build the roads? For example, the whole Southeast during the rain season time, people couldn't go there. Why couldn't you people accomplish some of these things? But you said here you brag about accomplishment. What are some of those accomplishments you can point finger to that we can see? Like the ministerial complex that were built by the Chinese. So what are some of these accomplishments that we can see vis-a-vis the Frenchman say?
Thank you, Mr. Farr. And I hope we have time. So you asked a question. So don't tell me the answer is enough for you. You don't want more. Because let's take one by a time. Electricity. We rebuilt the hydro. That's it. That's the major. The 90% of the job was just done by rebuilding the hydro. We signed all these international protocols, agreements with the West African Power Pool that will connect the entire country. By now, these things should have been accomplished. They had to follow on the scheduled timeline and pay our quota to this program. So when you ask them what have we done with the electricity, that's what we've done with the electricity. When I was in the Senate, we left electricity in Maryland, Harper City, uninterrupted electricity. That's how far we have gone. So when it comes to electricity, that's what we've done. And before I even elaborate further, let me make this clarification. I don't sit here claiming that we solve all the country's problems. No. I sit here defending our legacy on what we've done with the little we had and how we amplify and magnify it based on our relationship and our strategy. And we've done our best under the circumstances, despite our own shortcomings and the odds that we were faced with as a nation. What I have issue with this government for, and I don't blame them for anything. I know how difficult it is to run a country. I know how difficult it is to run a government, especially a whole lot of them who got no experience in running government. And I don't blame them because they don't have experience. When I became a senator, I didn't have experience in government as well. But you develop a political way and a strong passion to make a difference because you're there. So the only reason I'm speaking to this is because they are pointing finger to us for their incapacity and the inability to follow on our programs or to even develop theirs. So that's all. Now, we speak of electricity. I just told you. Now we come to University of Liberia. We rebuild the Fender campus. That's the University of Liberia. I agree with you. The university is not the way it should have been. It should have been better off. But the entire country should have been better off. Did we have the resources to better everything? No. Should we have done even more with the university? I'll say yes. But the president increased the budget of university. She rebuilt the Fender campus. She provided the staff and everything that they had to work with. Was that sufficient enough to say we're proud of our university? No. But that was a starting point to pick up the university from ashes. You speak of security. What have we done with the security? I told you today, we inherited an extremely polarized society that no security. We restructured the entire security sector. The police, the immigration, the military, the NSA, and even the DEA, and all of these. We had to build everything from scratch, fund them, train these people, send them outside for training, and everything. Those who you see are the generals and the chief of staff of the army today, that people we recruited under my watch. I confirmed them from office to office. That's what we did with the security sector. Is that enough? No. Did I express satisfaction with the security sector even when I was chairing it? I said no. On many of my meetings in the UN Joint Security Sector meetings we had, I made it clear that as chairman on the Senate Committee on Defense and Security, I'm not satisfied with the level of the security reform. I was highlighting these things because I said it. I don't want the UN to leave and things are not okay. And they say we were not able to maintain. So you know that. There is something else you need to understand into this international circles. UN, in most cases, they come with a checklist. Yeah, we restructured the army, yes. We trained the police, yes. We did this, yes. Once those checklists are there, they're gone. How effective they are on the ground, how capacitated they are, no. Even the police, I will tell you today, we were forced to recruit people who were not high school graduates, because you couldn't get people to join in with the military. So there were all these contending issues. As we were restructuring the army, we would have to deal with the disbanded AFS soldiers who were resisting this change. We were dealing with a critical security problem. They refused the change. They were threatening the peace. Now, no, we didn't say you have to reform rebuild a new army. They said reform. That means all of them who were well-trained, who were generals and staff of them should have been maintained. And that was something that we didn't go by. We gave out a clean slate to get new people on board, fresh blood, to ensure the security of the state. So we had a very fragile security system. We had to manage with all these warlords who were threatening the peace, who were doing this. Even when we started the TRC, when we called for the record for the TRC, the war crime court, all the warlords went to the city hall, including the Prince Johnson and the rest of them, 5, 6 of them, and threatened the country. Anybody bring war crime here, they will see what will happen, to intimidate the Liberian people, to intimidate people like us. who were chairperson of this committee. So yes, we did what we could do with the security sector. We reformed it, we furnished it, we funded it, we established and restructured them. We put them into motion. The next thing you asked me, the airport. We built a new airport. We attracted all these airlines that were here, including Delta, Air France, the Air Maroc, you name them. SM Brussels, all these airlines, West African Airlines, International Airlines were all flooding here. That's what we did. Look at the leadership of the airport. You think we ever had blackout under our worst conditions? That we even think about bringing a mechanic now to be head of the airport authority? So at the end of the day, you asked me about the roads for the Southeast. For Christ's sake, Mr. Farr, I think you said you've not been in Liberia for a long time. But as I speak to you, before I left office, we had already signed with the African Development Bank the pavement of the road from the Southeast. From Harper to River G is practically paved today. We have already established all of the framework to continue the phase 2 from Fishtown to Zwedru to Ganta. All this government had to do was to follow up on these international protocols, pay our quota, follow up. That's all you had to do. So when you ask me these questions, I'm glad I'm sure you have me here to answer to these questions. Like Orita said, we providing the information. And these are the things that we work on the electrification with the African Development Bank, with the road network, with the World Bank, with all these institutions. We put all these things in place. We transfer you now. You receive it. Continue with it. So build on it. And for today, 5 years, and we still can't go to the Southeast, it's a disappointment.
So, Senator, cannot build on...
For just a few minutes follow-up. How can you tell the Liberian people, because now Liberians are listening to you, how can you tell the Liberian people you built a hydro that cannot even provide electricity to even 3 counties, even Montserrat County? How can you say you built the road to the Southeast when I hear you mention only 2 counties? What about Riverside? What about Grand Crew? What about Sano County? Are they not part of the Southeast?
Mr. Farr, let me help you understand something. When I have an opportunity to start building things all over, and not just the Southeast, don't get me wrong, we build Buchanan Road, we build the thing all over the country, we build roads. You just mentioned Southeast, so I started to tell you what we started to do in the Southeast, okay? We built the streets of Monrovia. We built it. So when we start, even the Somalia Drive, the Gardensville Road that they just dedicated, we signed all these things here. They went there to cut the ribbon. This government, all the projects they turned over were projects that we initiated. They were there at the end point. They were there to cut the ribbons. So when I'm not blaming them for not doing it. I know it was going to be difficult. As an ambassador, when I came to the country after the election, I spoke to the country on Prime FM. Even though I'm from a different party, I didn't vote for them. I said to the Liberian people to measure your expectations, because these guys, the government is just coming. They will not be able to, deliver the way you expect them to. You have to measure your expectations and get a chance. Things will not happen overnight. And I'm supportive. I'm prepared to help. I'm not wishing them to fail. I only speak in defense when you don't assume the responsibility for your negligence and your ineptitude and inability to govern and your lack of capacity, and you shift the responsibility to someone else. Now, I do understand that some of you may be supporting some other candidates, so you don't want to make it look like the Unity Party did a great job, and you don't want to accept it. But the fact of the matter is, whether you accept it or not, whether you see it, relate to it or not, these are facts on the table. They are tangibles that everybody in this country can see because they've lived it and experienced it. So when you ask of what we've done, I just told you, does it stop there? No. This government is supposed to take it to another level. Will it stop there? No. Another government will come and take it to another level. That is what is called continuity in government. That is what is expected.
Great.
You understand?
Senator?
So to make it look like I said we've done everything. As much as we've done exceedingly well, what we have done far exceeds, it's far less than what we should have done under the circumstances with things under normal, circumstances.
Great. Senator, thank you for that answer. I just wanted to ask you this question. You're from Maryland, and another son of Maryland is contesting. He bidding a big tent. He involving everybody. Are you going to join the tent?
Well, I support Mr. Cummings. I support Ambassador Bwaka. I support the CPP as it was. I don't know what music they've been listening to. They're starting to dance differently. But they have strayed off the vision of the united opposition, thereby putting the entire country hope at risk. I call their actions selfish and irresponsible. I condemn Mr. Cummings, I condemn Ambassador Bwaka, I condemn the divided Liberty Party, I condemn all of them that dashed the hopes and aspirations of the hundreds of thousands and millions of suffering Liberians who had hope because of the way the CPP was structured. I said repeatedly, we just had senatorial elections. Out of 15 senatorial seats, the CPP won 8 of them. The CDC won 3 of them. What more evidence do you need to have to tell you that a united CPP was the way forward and that this was going to be the first round election for the CPP? Giving all of us the faith, the confidence, the fortitude, the resolve to stand up and campaign, blowing our chests because we know we're on the right side, united. But when it comes to the crown, they're not prepared to compromise. You know, this reminds me about the story of Solomon and the women, you know, the 2 women with a child. Are we all understanding what I'm talking about? That my child, which one of you would say, don't kill the child? It says, Solomon said, cut the child in half. And all of them say, yeah, let's cut it. As far as I'm concerned, the CPP members are saying, kill the child. And I disagree. So I don't support them in that regard. And it's frustrating, very frustrating, not just for me, but many other people who put this country at heart and had a hope that we had a renewed opportunity to make a difference because we were united. We're smart people.
But Senator,
but have you had the opportunity to read the CCP framework document from the initial stage? And why are you blaming Cummings for the breakup or whatsoever? What did Cummings do for which you are blaming him? If you have read a CCP framework document, if you were ever opportune to read a CCP framework document, what was the wrong that Cummings did?
What the wrong that Cummings did, and not just Cummings, but every other member of the CPP, was to take themselves, their interest before that of the CPP. Let me say this to you. In politics, it is not mathematics. It is not a 1 + 1 = 2. All right? No, sometimes politics 1 + 1 is equal to 32.658. So it is not as calculative as you would think in reading a document. We have to be practical. I was bold enough to speak. At some point, you all interviewed me before. And I alluded to the fact. I made it clear. In my view, Cummings is the most competent candidate in the race. In my view. I'm not as close to Cummings as I am to Ambassador Bwaka, but I equally will state that Ambassador Bwaka is the most popular opposition candidate in the race.
So my question to you, you didn't answer.
I'm going to answer you. I'm going to answer you. So if you starting to face this reality that the Liberian people have given you, when Ambassador Bwaka went for election, he got more than twice all the numbers for all the other members of CPP combined. His votes, more than twice than all the other members of the CPP combined. And let's be practical for once. Let's leave the technicality. let's leave the correctness or the rectitude of the argument. Let's just be a little bit sensible, common sense. Let's play that for a while. Let's play the devil advocate. If Cummings and Boakai, that the Liberian people would like to see, because that's the two people, two of them can be president. One will have be president, the other vice president. Pray tell me. Common sense. I'm not talking about technicality. I mean, you can read all your technical thing. I will not argue with you because you may have your right. Who will be vice president?
Senator, the common sense here is the vice president did drag Cummings to court. He testified. I can say that because the evidence are there. But my question to you, as a son of Maryland, and I bring in Janitor in right after me. He want to say something. As a son of Maryland, that were dragged to court by Unity Party and the other half, how do you call it?
ALP.
The ALP. And you still see that as they had a baby, they all decided to chop the baby in, but the CPP still stands today. So my question was, are you waiting to join the Big Ten that your own brother from Maryland is building for that better Liberia? Are you waiting to join, or you say you're not part of the Unity Party? That's what I asked that question. As an independent person now.
Well, let me tell you what I still believe. I'm still hopeful that Cummings and Boakai can reconcile the differences and put forth a team. As difficult as it may appear, I will say to them clearly, it's not about them. And let me say this much to you. Let me enhance the argument a little bit, please. When you say, now they're talking, okay, we'll go for a runoff. Whoever goes to the runoff, the other will support, that person. That's the compromise. But you see, they're forgetting one thing. The most important thing in the reform of a country, democratic reform and rebuilding of a country, is the parliament, the legislature. So now you're going to go for the senators and the representatives, and CPP is going to put for a candidate, and Unity Party is going to put for a candidate, and this party is going to put forth, the entire opposition going to put candidate, when the CDC, and I'm not talking about Congress of Democratic Change, I'm talking a coalition of democratic change. The CDC, Congress, the NPP, the LPDP, the PYJ, and all the other PPP or DDD that they are recruiting, they're going to come up with one candidate. These guys are going to take the legislature. What good would the presidency be to anybody if you have a very hostile legislature? They have to think beyond themselves and think country. If you love this country, you will sacrifice a little bit of yourself so that the country can live. You will unite the CPP and you will go for election and sweep the entire legislature and take the presidency. And one person will serve this term and the next person will serve the next term. That's a possible scenario, and they shouldn't ignore it because that is the way forward.
But it's not looking that way. Let me bring Jadinta in and then Orita.
Look, the suggestions of having a united CPP was a dream, not necessarily of Mr. Cummings, Ambassador Boakai, Mr. Yue, or may so rest in peace, Councillor Brunskin. It was a dream that young people, energetic young people like us sat down, accepted the CDC victory, knew that the CDC will have to lead our country for 6 years, decided to put a think tank together that would be critical of the CDC governance process and bringing on board political actors like Mr. Cummings, Ambassador Boakai, so rest in peace, Councillor Charles Walker Bunskin. The initial conversation started. And Mr. Cummings, being the first person approached, he accepted the idea. He encouraged us to put it into writing so that we come out with a blueprint. And then we signed that instrument as 3 political parties originally: ANC, Unity Party, and Liberty Party. I was on the committee for that, framework document. And then Ambassador Boakai pleaded with us, with the other two parties, that he wants to bring in Mr. Ure. And that is how Mr. Ure and the ALP came in the process. One conversation short, we laid our basic. We accepted, all of us accepted each other as equal partners, to the extent to which, when we started, the logo of the CPP was Unity Party, probably because they were the biggest party, opposition party, and then Liberty Party. When we went into the framework agreement, we decided that it should be alphabetical. So no one feels that they have monopoly or they have strength or they should be preferred. After laying down the basic for which someone can become lawmaker, and we tested that process, which I serve as convention committee chairperson of the CPP first ever convention, it is disheartening. The Balu, we should conspire squarely. No one campaign on planet Earth to become vice standard bearer of a political party. So if Ambassador Boakai, for example, wanted Mr. Cummings to be a voting, he should be bold, he should be honest, he should be clear to select Mr. Cummings or approach Mr. Cummings. That's what Madam Sali did in Cyclopedia with Ambassador Joseph Boakai. If Ambassador Boakai didn't do that, and the person he recommended, Mr. Ure, have been one of the major persons creating problems for the CPP, it is just honest and genuine that we tell Ambassador Boakai and Mr. Ure it's unprecedented. And because it was unprecedented, and we knew all of the flaw and all of the honor cuttings, all we did was fold our hands and see whether they were quite genuine or let it display themselves in the public glare. And for sure, these individuals went to court, dragged Mr. Cummings to court, won this case against Mr. Cummings, and today, semblance of that case is in the Minisky Act that says that Serena Seaforth were using non-facts evidence against opposition leader to persecute them. This is the bottom line of the breakdown of the CPP. And who should take responsibility in this instant case? It's the people who left the CPP. We have to be clear about it. It is not about legislative. I agree with you. From the open perspective, Ambassador Boakai has been around. He has served government. He's been vice president for 12 years. His name has been on all the radio stations, on all the public interaction. So he's been known, he's been heard, and he was able to get almost twice the vote of the combined three parties within the original CPP, the previous CPP. But I also agree with you. Mr. Cummings is best suited and competent to lead our country. If we come to the argument of who is popular and who is best suited, then the best judgment we can use is George Weah presidency. If you are popular and you are not prudent in decision making, and you are not collective, and our country is dragged even backward, then who should we be looking for now? Should we be looking for popularity? When somebody has failed miserably, we should definitely be looking for someone who can step day one doing the job of a president.
So that's
and
a
that
question
is why, and that is why I believe clearly that Ellis Cummings has everything it takes. That is why we have seen ourselves as the honored dog. And that is why we think we are fighting an uphill battle. That's why we have been engaged since 2018 up to current with the Liberian people.
So let me say this. When I said Mr. Cummings is the most competent and Ambassador Boakai the most popular, by this, I don't take anything away from Mr. Cummings' popularity. It doesn't mean he's not popular. He is popular. I mean, he has a lot of followers. He's probably the fastest growing politician now, okay, in terms of popularity. So it doesn't take away from him that he's not popular. When I say that Cummings is the most competent, it doesn't take away from Ambassador Boakai, the competence of Ambassador Boakai. What most of you don't know about Ambassador Bouakai is that not only is he popular, he is the most experienced politician around today. He is the man who knows the country more than any other politician. He is the man who knows the challenges more than any other politician. He is the man who knows the actors more than any other politician. He's the man who knows the connections, the opportunities, the prospects of the country more than any other politician. Cummings has been reading data. George Weah has been there for 5 years, and we know what they've been doing. Ambassador Bouakai had been in the mainstream of this country politics even before getting to leadership role, vice president role, 2005-6. He was there. He saw it all. He participated. Don't mind him being modest and say he's a parked car. I worked with Ambassador Bouakai for 9 years. I sat with his office every day after session to compare notes. So don't take that for granted when the man is being modest. So I'm just saying to you, as a member of the CPP, what you have are grade A statesmen. Cummings and Bouakai are statesmen, grade A. So when you are part of the side of the CPP in trying to promote your candidate, don't try to degrade another candidate, another person who and you are on the same side. I can understand it. The competition has been very dirty, and I condemn all sides for that. I condemn even the ANC for allowing the supporters to disrespect Ambassador Bouakai the way they have done. I condemn the Unity Party for allowing the supporters to disrespect Cummings the way they have done. I've condemned all of these things. At some point in time, some of us will have to put ourselves above the fray and not be part of a problem. Why should we be? Why should I choose side in a mess? I think both of them have failed the Liberian people in addressing this concern. You think that Joshua and Joe Howard Taylor, you think they are best of friends? LPDB, you think they are best of friends? I know the people in those parties. They were virtually breaking away. They were not even speaking to the people in the CDC, the Congress. They were not. These are people, even Prince Johnson going in and say he's not running because the people will rig election. The government will rig election. These are people who had their differences, but they understand that their future is tied together and they are compelled to reconcile those things and move forward and compromise.
Right. So Senator, what side do you stand now?
Just one second. Mr. Dulake, when you mentioned about this whole arrangement of the CPP from the beginning, I was then a member of Unity Party still. I was in the executive meeting, and I frowned on the fact that Unity Party, the biggest political party, opposition political party, the vice president, the party that had been in power 2 successive terms, the candidate that had, the party that had twice the votes of all the other CPP members together, will go and sit at a table formulating a merger and based on the premise that we are equal. At what point is ALP equal to Unity Party? At what point is ANC equal to Unity Party? At what point is Liberty Party equal to Unity Party? That was a sell-off, that was a blunder, and it costing the party the great embarrassment that they face with today. To the point that, listen to me, Mr. Dulake talking, in trying to form it, so we are not to put one party before the other, since we all equal, we go alphabetical order. Which party start with A? Huh? They're not ANC?
ALP.
Well, okay, ALP and the ANC, right? I'm just trying to say here, politically, there was a blunder, and it's costing the party today. I mentioned it to them there, and someone else said, oh, they argue. And I maintain it today. Nowhere, absolutely nowhere, that any of these political drafts were equal to Unity Party. None. So as we speak together, that we're working together in partnership, the lines must be drawn, the standards must be established, and the rules of engagement must be pointed out. So I don't want to go into the details because I don't want to undermine any member of the CPP, because to do so, we just weaken our strength. Together, we are strong. Together, we achieved. The future of this country is only in a promise to a united CPP. Don't forget the CDC. You think the CDC here is going to go losing election quietly? There are level of corruption that is going around today for every segment of the society, including legislators in recent time, including the rice scandal, including all of these things that you know has been going on. Contracts, free ports, everything that you've been seeing that the Americans got to get involved. What do you think these are geared towards? 2023 elections.
Great.
2023. Why even the representative, the House, were proposing a bill to change magistrate? What do you think they're doing? So I'm just trying to say to you, these people will use everything at their disposal to win election. You will cry and we'll talk it after election. You want to go to court? Go to court. So, you want to play 1 + 1 = 2? Do mathematics in politics. And you'll realize that it's a wrong approach.
So, Senator, before Orita comes in, I asked my question, the son of Mary, now, though you've been beating around and you're not part of the Unity Party anymore, I just want to make a quick announcement here. On Tuesday, we'll be having Louis Brown in the house. So, to our viewers, can they join on Tuesday at the same time? And for those for you who first time following the show, just press the like button, and every time we come on, you'll be notified. So, Senator, Louis Brown is your friend, and you know him well. Orita, come in with your question before I go back to the senator.
Yeah, the question I have, it goes back to what you just explained concerning the CPP. And I will go back to the court case, knowing well that everything that outplay, I'm going to use a word, and I will stand by that word. In my own opinion, everything that outplay was fabricated. And with permanent members within the UP and even in the Liberian society, everybody just sat, without coming in to raise, their voices. I'm saying this because the fact that we are all fighting for a Liberia where transparency, we want transparency to be one of the pillar. But when this court case was going on, I didn't see like our senators, our fathers, our mothers, even people within the CPP should have said, you know what? Let's go inside. Let's take this inside. This is our problem. Let's take it inside and talk about it. I never see that. And moving forward, if Mr. Comey was not a smart man and he didn't have the resources to hire forensic investigator, in my own mind, people, this whole fabricated case, they were going to paint it on him to destroy his dream of creating a Liberia where every one of us will have the opportunity and ability and capacity to eat from that bowl. What's your thought on that, Ambassador Balou?
Well, you all want to reduce and carry me into the little petty talks. I'll just make it simple. No. I'm answering you. I mean, your concerns are legitimate, very correct, but they're petty for me. I made it clear that those who were pursuing Alexander Cummings in court, they were stabbing the CPP in the back. It was wrong. I condemned them. I was disappointed to see what happened, to the point that even Ambassador Boakai was being carried to court, Sifas them playing the funny mockery. I was not satisfied. I condemned it. So if you say you didn't hear people saying that, I can send you some of my recordings. I was very vocal on shows like this. Okay? They were wrong. But so what? Is the country interest, the future of our next generation, is it more important than the political wounds that Cummings had incurred? Are they more important than the political embarrassment that some of the CPP team have caused Ambassador Boakai? or Mr. Ure or Senator Ikanga Lawrence, each of them will have to put aside their own pains, their own frustration, their own ego, and think beyond self and think nation. Such the time, such the condition, this country is looking for wise people. You know, I say sometimes when you think you lose, you actually win. And sometimes when you think you win, you actually lose. When you stop thinking about yourself and think about the future of this country, am I correct to say all of you are in the diaspora, living in developed countries? Am I correct?
Yeah.
You might be correct, and half.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. The point here is, if you are on these shows, it's because you want to contribute to the development of your country. You got passion for it, and I commend you for that. Some of us can join you there. And you know, some of us got the means to live anywhere to want to live, but we're here, leaving the country to who? Who will talk for the people in the country? When I speak, some of them are embarrassed because when we speak, it has weight. And we use it to talk sense. It will be to the government, it will be to the opposition. I was just on the radio a few days ago, and I was speaking about drugs. I started a group called We the People. That's what my focus is now. Drugs. Tell me, when was the last time you hear even Yahoo talking about coming speak about drugs? When you ever heard Ambassador Buchanan speaking about drugs? When you ever heard George Weah talking about drugs? When you ever heard the opposition or the rule, any politician, anybody in that legislature talking about these drugs? For them, it's not that important. Everybody will talk about what thing is important. My point is, I'm frustrated and disappointed in all of them when they can't deal with the issues affecting the everyday Liberian. I am taking the drug war even more seriously than pledging loyalty to a politician right now. They all should commit to this fight, elevate and challenge the media, and I will challenge your platform to dedicate this fight against drug as a priority issue. There are thousands of children being inducted into the drug game every month or so. We only got one state-run drug rehabilitation center that can take more than 40 persons. You saw the container of $100 million worth of cocaine brought. If it had not been for the American tip-off, you think that thing would have been discovered in our country that we know? Every day there's some drug thing going around. What is the DEA doing? Somebody was telling me in the area, where's that area name? Where the DEA is adjacent to the ghetto, the DEA office. And I want them to come look for me so I can tell them the place and get my boys to go show them the place.
Right.
So we're having serious things. We're planning organization with the people, and you tell your politicians that you're supporting to join the fight against drugs. We're planning a nationwide demonstration across the 15 counties, all the districts that the drugs are overwhelming the citizen. We're planning it. December 10th, we will take the country and we will announce it that we are going against drugs. And I can say to them now, that will be the first step in a long fight against drugs. And I said to the government, you still got 1 year to election. Go and get rid of these ghettos and get rid of these importers of drugs. We know who they are, you know where they are, you know who their partners are. If you don't get rid of the drugs between now and election time, I, John Balu, will make this a political issue.
So,
because we're not come to the citizen and tell them, say, vote for me and we'll move drugs. You were there for 6 years, you played deaf ears, you don't deserve the people trust for another year. We'll bring people, new people who can fight drugs. That's what we are talking here. So make this an issue. Ask your politicians you have, ask them the question. Instead of asking me to start pledging my support to people who play fun with the aspirations of the Liberian people.
Right. So, Senator, we've been here nearly 3 hours now, and somebody just answered your question on the screen that Cummings have been talking about drugs. So I think you need to team up with him too, so you can fight different because of our future generation, future leader, because he been talking about it, that he'll prosecute to stop where the drugs coming from. I think he has said it on many platforms. People have heard
Okay,
him
good. Good. So let me thank him and let him make it part of a talking point every time he speaks in the country. That's how important the fight against drug is. Let him visit the ghettos here. Let him see firsthand. Let the people go there too. And when you're going to the villages and the countries and going into all the cultural centers, go and see how the citizens have been in the ghettos. Go and have meetings with the DA. Go and understand what's going on so that you. Somebody said you have no pity. I think it's Mr. Farr. He didn't have no pity for anybody who was waiting in 12 years and didn't have a plan. Don't be sitting down here too for another 12 years and you don't get a plan. You go there, but you start asking, oh, we get drug on this side. Start and inquire. Get a lead way on it.
If it comes to that,
I challenge Mr. Cummings. I challenge George Weah, especially the President Weah. I challenge him to develop the political will. So far, he has failed miserably. He has disappointed the citizens in this fight against drugs. The man is living in a country where drug is coexisting and cohabitating with us as a normal thing in our society. How did we get here? How did we get here? You got a completely useless DEA. You got the lawmakers who are carrying the memo of the DEA and grilling the lawmaker, intimidating the DEA officer in front of the lawmaker in the legislature. They accuse some of the members of the legislature of being drug dealers. Where are we with that case? Nothing. Legislature is silent. Government silent. The president silent. DA non-existent. What is this going on?
So I want you to answer your question.
Senator Barlow, I think I want to believe that you have not been listening to Mr. Cummings, some of his, how they call it, campaign messages and stuff. But Mr. Cummings is somebody in politics who have already drawn his chessboard. You see, a good chess player, before sitting down, he must know the chessboard and has a plan how he's going to play the chess game. So, Mr. Cummings, if you follow Mr. Cummings and have listened to Mr. Cummings, and I respect you, your cousin and I, we are good friends here in Sweden. Mr. Cummings had drawn his chessboard, and it just left with the Liberian people. And then, too, when you talk, you and many Liberians that talk about this experience, like Plato, when he state that, oh yeah, only experienced person or somebody with a philosophical background or rich background should rule. I think that's a wrong message we send to Liberian people. But they don't listen to the message the president has, the president platform in transforming the country, the drives you see in the president. And Mr. Cummings has exhibited that on countless occasions, that he has the drives, not just the talking, not just the rhetorics, not just the presentation of how he want to get the country or where he want to get the country. He has a vision of a team and where he want to get the country. The drives, he has it.
I don't know what more you want to hear from me. I've already confirmed in my position, my opinion, that Cummings.
No, I did not ask you a question. No.
No. I'm just, you don't ask me. I'm saying something because you just, you're preaching to the choir. You're singing to the choir, preaching to the converted. Cummings brings on board a certain competence that this country is not accustomed to. Ellen Johnson certainly brought the same thing. We saw the results. Okay, even though some of you people in this country close your eyes to the reality. But then
I agree with you on one thing. That one thing I agree with you on. Looking at the current state of affairs of Liberia, you need somebody who has the contact with the international community. And Ellen, if you're looking at my Ellen record and her rapport with the international community, I think Cummings has plus that as well, with the international community with the business sector. So to get things going in the country, that one I agree with you. I mean, a million times I agree with you on that. But few other issues I disagree with you on when it comes to, I mean, things that she accomplished. Those are things I have problem with.
Right. Well, so, Senator, before you come in,
time you will research and you will get it. The point here is both Cummings and Ambassador Bwaka, they have these connections. They have this recognition. They got this respect. You understand me? My point is, why do I have to choose either or when we can have both?
But why? Senator, that's not going to happen. So now they're going to go into this race here. Are you going to contest again to be Senator of Maryland County this coming election?
I was in the county a couple of months ago. When I went there, and everybody was, oh, Senator, you should have listened to you. You were right. And it's good that you're here now. We'll start early. And I said to them, no, I'm not here to tell you I'm contesting.
Okay.
I had about 4 radio interviews and I had about 10 community meetings. Only one question I asked them: why you didn't vote for me? Now all I wanted to know. Because when you are so confident of what you've done, you have a record that you challenge anyone and then to challenge to question. You go to debate during campaign and you tell them the Senator Barney who won the election, the Marias who was a sitting senator and a representative, I tell them none of these people will ever come to a debate with me throughout this campaign as long as I'm in the county. And we had these debates, 3, 4 of them, we called them on radio and none of them went there. You understand me? So when you come and see somebody, so I ask them why you didn't vote for me. And I can tell you, I spent 1 month in the county asking this question and nobody can answer. This thing right now is being broadcast live in Maryland, Facebook. And I said to them, I'm glad that I know the problem is not mine. The problem is yours. The day you're looking for a good leader, you know where to find me. This time you will come to me, you say, Senator, we beg you, please come run. Because our people say small shame is better than big shame. You understand that? I'm not going to play hanky-panky with the future of this country. And I'm not going to stop being an opinion leader, a statesman, because I'm not elected to the Senate. I have a role to play in society like you're playing your role, and we will continue to play that role, with or without the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Without. We got, I'll say 2 more minutes, so I'll just ask Jonathan to say something, then go around table, then we can ask our senator to give us some parting comment. So Jonathan, we'll start with you before, then we'll go to Orator, then Linford, then Brother Far.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to say there's a hefty conversation. We all anticipated that we would have had one CPP and broke down along the way. Albeit we still maintain it. The question that Senator Balu was asking his former partisan, they should have agreed to the ANC and all other political parties equal to the Unity Party. It was deliberate. It was on purpose. It was not just because the vote that took place 2017. It was about the financial responsibility that one would take along the line in that critical period of time. And so I am aware fully that Mr. Cummings played that distinguishingly. He demonstrated that leadership under his governorship and chairperson, and he took on some of the financial obligations that brought CPP and made CPP to have reached to the height that he is proud of, to have said that we won 8 senators. I also believe that politics is about interest. Ambassador Bwaka is a good son of Liberia, except that he allowed Mr. Ure to mend his character by taking on his colleague, Mr. Cummings, to vote. And everyone thinks that Mr. Cummings should be vice bearer, and no vice bearer campaign for himself. So there have been no conversation about he being vice bearer. But the only instrument that should measure who should be bearer was crucified, which is the 3-pointed beans, Caesar, VPS, the primary, were crucified, and his character was maligned, and they attempt to be collective guilt because he still within the CPP. I think George Weah removal from power is not anything engineering, it's not anything mathematics, it's not anything extraordinary. We are staying in leadership. We harm our country more than we help our country. So we hope that the opposition can see reason to gather together. But in the instant case that cannot happen, it does not stay free for forces. We will remain president of the Republic of Africa because opposition are unable to unite. As a matter of fact, that even we are CDC can win the election all by himself, the coalition for democratic change. And so that means no other political parties can equally win it. I think what Senator Balu is saying, to make it easier, to make it reasonable, so that the voting population will not be confused. That is, I think that is what I'm getting for him. However, we remain committed, keep engaging people. The drugs business Senator Balu talk about is a major thing, but there are too many priorities of our country, and overlooking one will almost appear like someone doesn't have time. So on the drugs front, we can do all of the awareness that is required. If the officials of government are in cahoot with the drugs importer and we're having hundreds of millions of drugs coming, and there's no political will, it will almost be impossible to get rid of drugs. So that is why we are seeking the leadership. That is why Mr. Cummings prefer to be a president, that a senator will not have a full execution of the function of the president. As a president, deal with corruption, and under corruption, you have the issue of drugs, which is highly connected with corruption, and that's going to be dealt with. So it's a pleasure being here, and I'll always be willing to interact.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
You wanted to talk about Louis Brown. What is it you wanted to say?
I said Louis Brown will be our guest on Tuesday, and he have now joined Mr. Cummings Big Tent. And I was asking you, as an independent person, because you're not part of Unity Party anymore, if you're considering joining this Big Tent too. That's my question to you, but you kept avoiding the question.
No, when I resigned, I didn't purposely resign Unity Party. I resigned the CPP.
Right. Okay.
It was the CPP that had a flawed arrangement. Now, I just want to say something about Louis Brown. I've heard a lot of people speak things about Louis Brown. I think Louis Brown is one of the brightest citizens this country has. He has served this country in many capacities, and he carries with him a clear understanding of the body politics of this country. His arguments are matured. Yes, sometimes he will get political because he is a politician. But I mean, when we are starting to discuss issues, I'd rather us focus on the issues and not on the individuals. So I don't know, when you mentioned him, maybe some of you thought I would be. No, I hold him in very high esteem. And I don't know what he's played during the war. I have never heard anything bad that he's done.
No. So, Senator, it was not about anything negative about him or bad. I just saying that he'll be our guest, and because he's part of Mr. Cummings Big Tent,
and because he's there, I will follow your program to listen to him. Okay. I like listening to him. I like listening to the ambassador.
All right, thank you.
An ambassador who is quite knowledgeable, very, very knowledgeable man. I hold him in very high esteem.
Okay, so we'll bring in Orita, then Brother Fad, then Linfa, and I'll close off.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Ambassador Villa, for a very good show and all the information you provided. And yeah, hope to see you another tent. That's my prayer. Because no, I'm saying this all joke aside, I think we as Liberians, we have reached the stage where it should be about country now, not individual. And we all as a collective, no matter age, gender, tribe, religion, class. I mean, the time has come for we as Liberians to really work together and develop our country, because we all love Liberia. Even though there are some who feel like, no, I'm just going to take what I can take. But the time has come where we have to put our differences aside and really work together to develop our beloved country.
Thank you, Rita. Jody?
Yeah, I just want to thank, the Honorable Ambassador and former Senator, and I want to say thank you to our brother Dolake for being part of the program. And the Senator, as a politician, no skillful politician, just offer himself to any kind of institution just like that. Yeah. So he's not going to tell you going to join the tent of Mr. Cummings just like that. He has to be engaged. So is there any kind of a backdoor channel that is being worked to engage the, congressman or, ambassador? So these are things that need to be worked out. But he's never going to tell you, oh, yeah, I'm going to offer myself to come in. When you want a girlfriend or woman, you got to run after the woman. So the ambassador not going to give you that. The ambassador, is a pleasure. Having you on the program. I wish you a blessed weekend. Dolake, you too.
Yes, Jonathan, it was nice having you on. Sorry for interrupting, Mike.
So let me go
Thanks,
then and then get Linford. So, Senator, it was great having you again. And this is your second time appearing on the show. And every time you come, you bring new thing, and then you letting us with a lot of things. So it was good having you here, and it shouldn't be a last time with the drugs issue. I think we'll use the platform to promote what happened, because it's just bad to see our young brothers and sisters going through that. So we champion what you're doing. I think we can support in that direction. And brother Joe, Dolake, thanks for being here. The platform is all yours. You're welcome back anytime. And I will say to the rest of our followers, next week we'll have on Tuesday we'll have Louis Brown in the house. So join us the same time, 6 p.m. Liberia time. So I would say, well, Linford, take us home.
Well, let me say thank you to the Honorable Ambassador for taking his time up, because he knows what we've been doing. I'm always on his back, and he will say, okay. And I say, no, don't just say, okay. And, but it was good that you took up time. We know how busy you are, and we appreciate your time here. And also to our brother, Jonathan Dolake, 2 or 3 days ago, I listened to you on one platform somewhere, and this argument about the team was there. And when Paul told me that you were coming, I said, well, that would be good, that he will be appearing on the program. And so we hope this is not going to be your last time coming, because as we move forward in the next 11 months, it's going to be a lot of things happening. So we'll always be calling on you guys who are policymakers to come and share with the Liberian people. It's not about coming to us. It's about telling the Liberian people what's happening and how we can tackle it together. And I think the senator has enlighten our minds about many things this evening. So we hope this is not going to be the last time. Thanks a lot, and we look forward to seeing you again.
So the senator gave a parting comment.
Well, again, I am really committed to dealing with the ills of society from the perspective of we the people, not relying on politicians to address the issues of the citizens anymore, but galvanizing the support from within and applying it to deal with the issues that affect the citizens the most. I think when the citizens apply the attention and the focus and the drive behind issues, politicians will run behind it to solve it because they want the popular vote or the support of the citizens. We the people take this opportunity to challenge the president himself to develop the political will to do something about the drugs. We challenge the opposition and all politicians in this country to include the war against drugs as part of the talking points every time they engage the media. If you love this country and you think that you got something to offer, start by raising and dealing with the issues that affect the children. I want to conclude by telling you that the drug law today, calling for non-bailable, has passed in the House, commendable, under the pressure of the citizens. Today is with the Senate. I will be meeting with the Senate leadership and the Senate this week, calling on them to pass this law in the strongest way. Like I said, this will be a political tool if the politicians want it to be a political tool. It can be a point of partnership and cooperation if they so desire. The choice is theirs. But our decision has been made in the interest of the people, and we will stand and work towards dealing with these issues. Coming to the CPP, I personally maintain my call for a united CPP. I've heard all of you speak so loudly about the possibility of Mr. Cummings, which is not far from the truth. But then again, I remind you that there's a difference between what you want and what you can get. Sometimes we need to be strategic. I will maintain Joseph Boakai and Cummings need to form a team. Anything in that regard, I will be there in front of it. leading the battle as one of the frontline, call it whatever you want to call it, to move it forward. But a divided CPP or divided opposition is not in the interest of this country. It's not in the interest of the legislature. It's not in the interest of the children and vulnerable citizens of this country. I use this platform through you, some of you who have heard spoken so loudly in their interest, to convey to them, if there is still 1% chance of the possibility of partnership, let us explore it and have this country breathing again with hope. On this note, let me thank all of you and thank Mr. Jonathan Dolake himself for sharing the platform with me as guest, and all of you for your beautiful questions. I hope we had an interactive forum. I promise you I'll be willing and available anytime you call me, and I will be more than glad. I have a beautiful time, and the exchange was quite engaging. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Paul, you are muted.
Based on that, I would say thank you, Senator, and to our followers for being with us. As we depart, I would love to leave the #1 music on the chart in the UK, the #1 hit, and then to say we'll meet again on Tuesday.
I cannot get me for late here to drive for the $7,000 car. Now why should we camping for? That's stupid. That is what camping for your stepson to wash a car. We're shopping 350 US dollars. That means you go camping. That is what camping for you like to the lobster and he's showing the baby chicken and driving at the $8,000 car. That means you go camping. That is what camping for Janako to be controller general. Why a web that this is boss? That means you go camping. That is what camping for Bessie Yeke to be head of place. Why a web that one of the people want to ask for? That means you go camping. That is what camping for Ella Castro to be the head of NAFA. While husband is a consultant to Marita. That means you go camping. Oh, that means what camping for family investing. How can I go into detail? That's stupid. That means you go camping.